Good morning. Mic's working. It was tested this morning and then left on. Coming at you with a hot mic today that we fixed. Got to mute myself again. So there we go. Now we're muted. And now I think we're actually ready to go. Good morning, folks. Welcome to the stream, everybody. We have a fun one today. So today's stream is called Silver, mostly non-live, but really open. The reason being this is best of 7 silver tournaments. But something happened yesterday, and so it's a little bit of a test today. We're gonna see how this goes. I deleted all of the old live stuff and started over with the live players, so we're gonna see how that looks today. There are some live players that managed to get enough plate appearances to qualify overnight, like over the last 26 hours or something, I guess. And so we'll probably see some of them on the lists. A lot of them are names that you probably expect to see on the list. Yes, I achieved one of my goals. If you remember the last stream of Perfect Team 21, where I stated my goals for Perfect Team 22 were to get better at tournament building, be more active on the Discord with you guys, and get a haircut. And one of those has been achieved. The other two we're still working on. So we'll see. We had prom this weekend. I did not have prom this weekend, but my son had prom this weekend. So I decided I was going to try to look good for the pictures. And I don't know how well it worked, but I think they came out better than they would have Friday. So, and so, yeah, here we are today. We are home run rate too high. What do we got? Mad Bieber didn't get perfect. Yeah, Bieber didn't go perfect. A couple cards went perfect. I think it was just one or two. A couple bronzes went to silver. A couple silvers went to bronze. A couple irons went to bronze. And here on the stream, we can weep for Tyler O'Neill, who's no longer a very good iron card, but a less than stellar bronze card. We can also weep for Brent Suter and for Luis Arias, who are both now in silver as well. But today we're talking about silver. Will we see Arias or Suter on the silver list? I don't think either one of them had enough innings pitched. I know Suter didn't qualify. I can't remember if Arias was on the list. I should be able to remember that. We won an iron tournament this morning as we're starting to collect new iron data for next week's stream. Next week's going to be our second attempt at iron. And we won a tournament this morning, totally by accident. So we're going to open 5 packs before we get into this week's statistics, and we'll see how it goes. Arias and Yachty ravaged bronze. They did. Arias and Yachty not being on my tournament team anymore just killed me. Pack luck has been good the last couple days. We're gonna open 5 now. We're gonna open some more at the end of the stream after we do the stats. So there's a Wayne Twitchell. He'll get added to this team's bronze team. This is my secondary, really my iron tournament team that just runs iron over and over. And they haven't had a lot of luck with packs. They're packs only, except for filling out that iron team. I'm not buying cards for the main team of this one, just for filling out the iron team, which that's going to be my job tomorrow. There's a Michael Lorenzen, pretty solid bronze pitcher, kind of okay bronze pitcher, really helpful in bronze cap. He gets a lot of play in bronze cap. In our last pack of these 5, only one iron win so far. Your defense got ravaged by the update. We got a Daniel Bard here, who sadly dropped 3 points, so hopefully he's not going back to his old ways. Also got an Ian Happ. So ugly set of 5 packs. Why do I do that to myself? Do I have any other packs to open? I think I have 3 packs to open on the Bruins as well. So let's do that. Let's just do that. Look at that, 3 packs. They're getting ready to go in the daily bronze cap. We're going to get them into another silver tournament. Even though I'm not, this data is all for down the road. We'll see how it goes. We came in like 4th place yesterday. I ended up with 3,000 points on this team somehow. Might be a team we can build a silver team with. Same thing kind of with this team as with the Decimals version 2. I buy cards for the tournament teams, but not for the main team. So packs are always nice. The packs early on today, not so nice. Yeah, Ian Happ, my favorite player ever. For those who watch the OHBL, smooth fielding shortstop JP Crawford. We got a couple of irons here, a couple of historical irons. Our last pack, and then we're gonna get into the data. We get a Randy Arozarena. I don't know, he might actually play on this team. I don't know what this team consists of. Let's check. Who's playing outfield for this team? We got Randall Grichuk. Yikes. Mike Krivich. And Roy Johnson playing the outfield for us. I don't know. We're going to hold off on a Arozarena. Actually, you know what? He's going to go in a designated hitter for Schwarber. I don't think Schwarber quite has what it takes to be a designated hitter over a Arozarena. So let's throw Arozarena in there as a designated hitter and call it a day for this team. I will make adjustments to this team later today, but we want that. I saw a question early in the chat before I came live. Yeah, your iron pitching is ugly. Now let's see. Historicals don't change. Kind of like bronze last year. Twitchell went to silver. Nope, he did not go to silver. He's still a bronze. He just doesn't change. He does play in silver though. Trying to claim this pack that it just gave me, and it won't go away. I don't know if that's going to come through. What else do we got? Yes, I did get a haircut. I'm sure I'll say that multiple more times over the course of today. Let's see. You don't think you've made it out of the first round in a bronze since the update? Sorry. I haven't touched bronze since the update yet. There was a question about Eddie Murray in the chat before I came live. Sorry, I have a really long password now, and I have to think while I'm typing it. Luckily, it doesn't show up on screen. I know I have a lot of perfect points. I did something Sunday night that I'm not proud of, but it had to be done. I sold Amos Strunk this week, guys. I sold Strunk on Sunday night to get perfect points to build a gold tournament team, and it worked out. I've earned a whole bunch of packs from gold teams the last few days. We're going to open these at the end. I did sell this Strunk. Thanks. Sorry, I had to get the haircut. Prom. It was prom. Eddie Murray, on the other hand, who we picked up on Friday, is working out pretty well. Solid 325 batting average this year, up in gold. Already 5 home runs. It's only Tuesday. 8 doubles, on pace for a solid 40 double, 27 home run, 4.5 WAR season out of our new first baseman. Spent a little bit of time over the weekend platooning with Nomar, but is now our full-time first baseman, playing against both lefties and righties. Nomar is backing up our designated hitter and backing up our first baseman right now. So he is what he is. Eddie Murray, our new man. Losing subs left and right post haircut. 100 people just dropped all at once. Well, I didn't have 100 subs to begin with, so that's. Yeah, gonna be a while before we upgrade that Eddie Murray. I'm pretty happy with the Eddie Murray. The Strunk has worked out well. The gold team looks good right now. It's been doing well over the last 24 hours or so. That is my new focus on this team, is gold tournaments. Of course, today our focus is the Johnny Shaka's bronze, which I have no idea, guys. I haven't run a bronze tournament in the last week, and so I filled in the holes that got left by Gurriel and by Suter and by Arias, and I have no idea what that team's going to do. They made it to the quarters last week. My first time making it out of the first round. You guys just kill me in bronze. It was my first time. No, I made it to the round of 16, I think, right before the prizes last week and in the Tuesday bronze. We've also got Sporers this week. I managed to pick up the last slot in Sporers that was at 63 of 64, and I noticed it on Discord, and I said, I missed that last week, and that's my favorite tournament. How did I miss it last week? Let's get in it now. And so there's a Sporers team out there today. And the Saturday Iron Warriors team is going at it again this weekend. This week was the first week. This past week was the first week that my Iron Warriors team did not get a prize of some sort. We lost in 7 games in round 1, but I was busy Saturday and couldn't do anything with the team, so I blame life on that one. I accidentally have 2 Iron Warriors teams this weekend, so if you see the decimals in there twice, I apologize. It was a mistake, and now it won't let me get out of either of them, so we'll have 2 decimals teams in the Iron Warriors. Apologies on that one, guys. I don't like taking up 2 spots from you guys, but it was totally an accident. I promise. I'm going to close this. Let's not save that. All right, ready? Are we ready for silver stats? I'm rambling here. You feel like Nomar could platoon Terry if you'd like? Yeah, probably. I haven't looked into it too much the last couple days, but Nomar is probably going to platoon with Terry Pendleton at some point. The team is good enough right now that I don't have to pay too much attention to them. They're probably going to be a playoff team anyway, and so I'll look into them this afternoon when I have a little bit of time. It's been a scramble the last 3 or 4 days or so. Do I tinker a lot with my team mid-tournament? Not in the quick tournaments. If I happen to be free during the bigger tournaments, like the 64, 128 team tournaments, and I don't have anything else going on, I'll tinker a little bit more for fatigue management than anything else. But overall, no. Once I set a team for the tournaments, and once the tournament starts, for the most part, they will just go on their own. Bronze is probably the best bang for your buck. You're probably right. They kick off really fast. There's enough randomness that it's a low barrier to entry. You can put together a team for 500-600 perfect points and be competitive every now and then. But to be consistent, you're probably going to have to put a couple thousand perfect points into your bronze team. And I am not quite there yet. My bronze team fell apart after the stream last week. So you upgraded Nomar at first. He'd probably be your DH. It'd be hard to get him out of your lineup. He's pretty good. I like that 99 Nomar is pretty good. Yeah, bronze fires off fast, and yeah. So what else are we talking about? Is it Adonis Terry or Adonis Tony, the really good starting pitcher who can also bat a bit? Not sure off the top of my head. Sliders really not that big of an issue in bronze. I use sliders in bronze. I think that they are important in bronze, but you can get away with it because there is randomness in bronze. Iron, they're still important in bronze and iron, especially for like. Really, fatigue management is probably the biggest one you need to figure out, and that's one I'm still working on. I think I'm getting there. I got a Twitch drop. Hooray. We're up to 9 packs. And so I think that the fatigue management stuff is probably the most important slider in bronze and iron. But you can make your team a little bit more consistent by using, especially your pitching sliders, especially like your pitch around, your remove as starter, remove as reliever kind of stuff, shifts, stuff like that. I tend to set for the open tournaments. I tend to just go in and set an overall sabermetric strategy and then adjust the individual players as I see fit. Yeah, you can build a really solid team for like 20. I agree, Mike, that you can build a solid bronze team for 2,500. You put 10K into your bronze team and you're not consistent. Sounds like somebody's been buying Build a Legend cards, and it's the consistency in bronze is definitely interesting. You can win 8-man, 16s occasionally, 32 teams never happens. Yeah, it gets a little bit rough. Stats. We're here for silver stats today. So what did I do today? So like I said, I cut all the live stuff. So all of the live data that you're going to see today for the few and far between live cards that are going to show up is all from yesterday and today. So you can see Hedges, all of his plate appearances are from yesterday. Really from yesterday, because none of the tournaments I entered this morning have finished yet. So it's all from, he got 1,700 plate appearances yesterday. I adjusted the cutoffs just a little bit, so there are some smaller sample sizes, because there's not a lot of historical silvers that have 600 or more plate appearances, or 1,000 or more plate appearances. You can see there's a total of 7 catchers that have 1,000 plate appearances. So the all-time cutoff got moved down to 500, might even be a little bit lower for catchers. This week it was 200 for catchers, 350 for everybody else, I think. So that's where we'll see some small sample sizes today, but it's going to be more historical players that maybe we haven't seen, that we didn't see the last time we did silver, which was still being dominated by live cards last time we did it. So hopefully we'll get to see some players that we haven't seen before, and have a little bit of fun while we do it. It's a little bit of a test. I haven't decided if I'm going to kill the old live stuff in all of the other tournament formats yet, or just make sure that it's not used in the this week stuff so we can see the changes on the different things. But this makes it a little bit easier for me to make sure that like I don't accidentally put a Luis Arias on the bronze list by accident, and so because that's definitely something that could potentially happen if I don't delete it all. I just haven't figured out exactly where it is. You might be all of those Desautel Zabats. Yeah, possibly. Just bronze run is dead up. So silver is fun. I like silver. It's a little bit more, once you put a good team together, it's a little bit more consistent. It's definitely not super cheap, like bronze and iron are, but it's not super expensive either. Like I just dropped a whole lot of perfect points on the gold team yesterday. I have not had to do that on silver yet, but there are some pricey cards in there too. So we'll see what it looks like. Hedges comes in at number 8 at catcher. Your number 1 defensive catcher here in silver, but offensively, out of 8 qualifiers this week, or yeah, in the last however many tournaments we've had, I went back to, we're on tournament 600, so this week's data, again, for the live guys, it's all from yesterday, but for everybody else, it's going back to tournament number 400. So we're on like 620 something right now. I think, I don't remember exactly what tournament we're on, but it's going back about 200, the last 200 tournaments. So the tournaments I've been able to get into over the last 200, which has not been a ton because bronze took up so much of my time the last couple weeks. So Hedges is your number 1 defensive catcher here in silver. I think it's close, but it's you think Kazmir is the number 1 starting pitcher in silver. You don't think it's particularly close. We'll see where he shows up. I don't know. I didn't look too closely at the pitcher list this morning, so we'll get there when we get there. Hedges' bat is pretty bad, though. We've got, let me get the rest of the stuff up so you can see exactly what we're looking at. So 340,000 plate appearances overall, 272 average, 331 on base percentage, 411 slugging, 742 OPS, 328 weighted on base average across the league. Just under 13 home runs per 600, just above 9 steals per 600. Pitching wise, we're looking at an ERA of 4 or so, whip of 13.62, 7 strikeouts, 3/4 of a home run per 9 innings, and just a tick under 3 walks per 9 innings. Again, that's over all of your time, all batters and pitchers all time. Meta wise, 80% of our pitchers in silver right now are right-handed. What can I say? That is not the same when you go up to gold. I'll tell you that right away. 55% of our batters are right-handed as well. So we're looking at 30% or so left-handed and 14 or so switch hitting. Some switch hitters are getting added in there. And then you've got the majority right-handed. There's a lot of right-handed pitching, a lot of right-handed offense here in silver. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. Silver's a bit of a battle lately for you out of the park, Name Lord. Enigma likes silver more. Bronze is kind of figured out, and there's a lot of good teams. Agreed. Silver's still tough, but it's been more consistent. Yeah, I think especially if you're willing to put time into your team, you're going to get more consistent as you go up higher in levels. It's just, part of that is just the cards. The cards in silver are going to be a little bit more consistent performers than the cards in bronze and iron. And so I think there's a lot more luck involved at the lower level tournaments, but you definitely start reaching into that pocketbook to fill teams as you get higher in level as well. I haven't even begun to think about like open tournaments and stuff like that yet. So I'm really trying to get that gold team competing well, and I think I'm close. There's a couple of players I'm trying to add, but Hedges is number 8. Really bad bat right now, guys. Over today and yesterday, it was a 248 weighted on base average, which is, I mean, I don't think I need to tell you that that's just terrible. A .71 WAR per 600. Yes, very good defensively. Pretty bad offensively. He does hit home runs, but that's about it. Number 7 is Bob Boone. He's your tied for 4th at catcher. Somehow we ended up with a tie at catcher for 4th and 5th. Offensively, he ranks 7th, so he's right there just above Hedges at a 283 weight. Well, I say just above, but a 283 weighted on base average. Not too much power. Not really any speed to go on with it. Good avoid Ks versus lefties. Sadly, he's facing 80% right-handed pitching. So if you can platoon Boone, if you play Boone and you can platoon him, then maybe you can get a little bit more out of him than what you're seeing here. But I don't think you're going to get too much more out of him. Although a 70 contact, 93 avoid Ks should perform pretty well. Welcome, Dollar. Thanks for stopping by. I do not have a gold list published yet. That is somewhere down the road. I'm not ready to publish gold just yet. I'm trying some things out with it. Boone is good. Boone looks like he should be good if you can get him against lefties. He's also pretty darn good defensively. Number 6 is Build a Legend Lucroy. Very bad defensively. 9th out of 14, so not great defensively, not bad defensively, but not great. That's 9 out of 14. So again, the defense is among all-time qualifiers. Offensively, he ranks number 1 out of catchers this week, but small sample size alert, 442 plate appearances. He did drop a 281, 341, 380, 722 line with a 321 weighted on base average, which is kind of right in line with his huge sample size of 539 plate appearances. So just not enough for me to really say right now that Lucroy actually looks really good. He does look very meh. All time, he ranks 7th out of 14. So it was a bad week offensively for catchers is what it looks like to me. Because if you look at this weighted on base average, it was number 1 over the last 200 or so tournaments out of your 8 qualifying catchers. All time, a 319, which is just a tick below that, is 7th out of 14. So that tells me that Lucroy was okay and that the rest of the catchers really, really struggled offensively for some reason or another over the last 200 or so tournaments. I don't love Lucroy. I definitely would play Boone or Hedges over him. I'm not sure what the gold card looks like at this point. Does it tells? Your 5th most used all time, 5th most used over this period, 718 total plate appearances, dropped to 304 weighted on base average on us. 345 on base percentage, was number 1 among catchers. Ranks number 4 offensively, ranks okay defensively, kind of good catcher ability of 83. The catcher arm is only 51, but again, steals at 9 per 600 plate appearances I'm definitely focusing on that catcher ability more than that catcher arm for a catcher at this level. And for whatever reason, he's performing pretty well. Really solid on-base percentage of 345, which is well above league average. Good eye to go along with a pretty decent avoid Ks as well. All-time 352 on-base percentage, which is well above your league average on-base percentage. A 312 weighted on-base average is a tick below, so it's a very walk-heavy on-base percentage, which isn't super helpful because he doesn't run great. But I mean, it's an on-base percentage. It's a non-out in your lineup, so that's nice as well. I don't think there are very few guys here in silver that I think are go away. Stuck on my screen. You run Hedges Perez on your alts. There aren't too many must-use guys here in silver. I think there's a lot of competition for good spots, and the problem here is that Desautel is definitely a step below Boone defensively, and also I really think that Boone looks better against left-handed pitching, which is where Desautel is. Desautel? Call him Gene. Which is where his splits lean. And I really think that if you are going to platoon at catcher, I think Boone is the way to go over Desautel, who's at number 5. Roberto Perez comes in at number 4. He's your number 2 defensive catcher and is slightly better than Austin Hedges offensively. Not by too much, but by enough that it's a pretty significant number. 264 weighted on base average versus the 248, I think it was, for Hedges. He's just behind him, the 100 catcher ability with the 110 catcher defense rating and an 81 arm. Perez looks, I think I choose Perez over Hedges slightly. I definitely think that either one of them can play. They're going to be pretty similar. And again, you've got a versus lefties kind of split here, kind of platoon, like enough in power and enough in contact that, I mean, I don't necessarily think he has to be a platoon, but there's a lot of guys who are going to be better versus lefties here. And we're kind of seeing that in the meta too, right? It's a lot of right-handed batters. The avoid case is terrifying. He is going to be strikeout more than just about any other catcher out there. Almost 200 strikeouts per 600. And his batting stats aren't great, but again, he's the number 2 defensive catcher behind Hedges here in silver. And I think his bat's a little bit better. So if you're really looking, and I don't think either one of them is terribly expensive right now too. So some of the historical silvers that are in here get hard to find. And so if you're going to choose between Perez and Hedges, it's almost a toss-up to me, although I lean Perez just a tad, personally. I know Hedges is slightly better defensively, but I lean Perez just a tad. Number 3, right now is John Roseboro. Again, small sample sizes here, just 600 plate appearances for him this week, 2,085 all time. He does rank 6th offensively among catchers, and he's going to give you okay defense as well. Again, that second tier, there's definitely that top tier of catchers, the Boone. The Boone, the Hedges, and the Perez are pretty clearly like the 1, 2, and 3. I don't know who was tied with Boone yet, but we might see him higher on the list. There are too many really strong versus lefty bats. Yeah, it's tough. There are a lot of really strong versus lefty bats. But here we go. John Roseboro versus righty splits here. 319 weighted on base average over the last 200 tournaments or so. A 280 batting average, a 321 on base percentage. All pretty good. It's a hits-driven on base percentage. It's a batting average-driven on base percentage as opposed to a walks-driven on-base percentage like some of the other catchers. You see a lot of catchers with very good eye, but not as high of an avoid Ks. Roseboro can hit righties, which is something not too many of these other guys can do. And so it may be worth it to get him in your lineup as a platoon against righties, even though his defense is a tick below. It may be worth it to get that extra offense in your lineup against right-handed pitching with 80% or so right-handed pitchers. And so that's Roseboro at number 3. You've been playing a lot of gold yourself. Boone is the page of catchers. Oh, yeah, that's fair. EVC, platoons, Boone, and Perez. I think you can do worse than that for sure. I don't think that's a bad platoon. And what else are Chast and the Boone is the page of catchers. Yeah, it's he's all right. Boone's okay. I don't think he's a bad choice. Number 2 is Bruce Petway. I mean, what can I say about this card? I want it to be awesome. I still, even this year, and this goes all the way back to last year, he was there were times where Petway was a monster last year, and there were times where he just wasn't quite as good. Obviously, all of our plate appearances from him come in the last week and a half or so since those Negro League cards dropped. He's 4th over the last since he dropped and weighted on base average. 298 weighted on base average, 664 OPS, 337 on base percentage, and dropping 30 steals per 600 as well, which I think if people push him up a little bit, he can probably get a little bit better than that. But his on base percentage is still a little bit low for Bruce Petway. And I don't know if that's just a small sample size aberration. I look at this card and I really, really want it to be awesome. And he's not performing that way yet. But I think over a larger sample size, you may see him start to perform a little bit better. Does have that right field in there. I think there's a lot of offense in right field and at first base here in Silver to where you kind of end up with Petway needing to be at catcher. Because I think you can just get too much offense in right field and at first base that he's not necessarily. This really is the lack of power from Petway. He's a very specifically suited offensive player, and while his catcher ability is okay, he's definitely that second tier of catchers as well. Not quite. He is the one who's tied with Boone, but it's a very catcher defensive rating that ties him with Boone overall in defensive value, whereas Boone is a higher catcher ability, which to me is the more important rating for your defensive catchers. But I really want this card to be awesome. It hasn't shown that just yet, but it's pretty good. It is still pretty good. You have Petway at a 384 on base percentage over 1,000 plate appearances. That is way higher than what I have him at. That is crazy. That is a huge difference. This card is just filthy looking. It looks like it should be awesome. And so I'm a little disappointed to see these stats that I'm getting out of it, but I'm hopeful that it will go up over time for Petway. Number 1, Buddy Rosa comes in at number 1. Again, you're gonna want a right-handed platoon with him if you're playing him. So, maybe you make Petway your right-handed platoon here. That would be a very expensive platoon. Petway, I believe, is going for about 30 to 40,000 right now. I might be wrong on that, but Petway is a very expensive card. I cannot find Buddy Rosa anywhere, but he looks really good versus lefties. He looks kind of junky versus righties. If you can find a way to platoon him, he looks pretty good. Pretty solid defense, 84 arm, 86 ability, 101 catcher rating. Very good avoid Ks to go along with a pretty okay eye, and decent contact gap and power versus lefties. It definitely a huge platoon split versus lefties as opposed to versus righties. Drop in 2.86 WAR per 600, which is good for second among catchers. I don't know I didn't see who number one was. Number one was Roseboro in WAR. And so Rosar dropping a 295, weighted on base average, solid batting average, 253. So you're getting comparable defense. I think really still just a tick below the Boone, even though he's rated a little bit higher than Boone. Again, it's this that's bumping him up just a little bit. I do adjust for ability being more important, but his defensive rating at catcher is bringing him up a little bit above Boone. He's a tick below Hedges, a tick below Perez. I think he's a tick below Boone. Let me check Boone again just to make sure I'm not talking out of places I shouldn't be. I lie. He's definitely better than Boone defensively. 84 arm, 86 ability, 101 catcher rating. So I think he's right there, a tick below the Perez and the Hedges, but still pretty firmly in the number 3 defensive catcher category. Petway is down at 15. Nice. So maybe a little bit more affordable now. You've been playing Petway every day, every third day in right field. Nice. And Simple Enigma has had pretty good pack luck this year, but hasn't opened a silver Negro League card. They're a little tough. Those silver ones are tough. I've opened 3 of 1 gold Negro League card. Which one? I forget which one. The pitcher, the guy who plays pitcher and pretty solid outfield as well. And he plays like every position. I forget his name off the top of my head right now because there's a lot of people here talking to me. So, yeah, I like this Rosar card, especially if you can platoon him with maybe a Petway or maybe a Roseboro or one of these other guys. If you're going all in on defense, the Perez or the Boone, perhaps. I like all of these cards. I think they're all playable for sure. A guy we didn't see today was Frankie Pitlack, who has enough to qualify all time, but didn't get the 350 required for this week. Piazza was just off the cutoff as well, so we didn't get to see him. I don't think we have enough all time on Piazza for him to have qualified. So those were your catchers this week. No, not Ray Brown. I can bring it up. He's on my gold team. Forget who it is. It's Donaldson. Yeah, that's who it was, Stens. It was John Donaldson's the one I've pulled 3 times. I think he's still pitching for this team. No, I took him off the pitching staff for this team. But we can at least show you what we've seen on him. This is him. So pitcher, first base, a little bit of center field rating. Pretty solid batting ratings. With 80 avoid Ks, 61 contact, 57 gap. Solid pinch hitter / pinch runner / kind of does a little bit of everything. I use him mostly as a starting pitcher, but he can back up a couple of positions too. The John Donaldson, he's a pretty cool card. That Donaldson. Let's move on to the first baseman, shall we? The heavy card is great. I bought him last night. That was one of the cards that I bought with my Amos Strunk money. Because I wanted that card really bad, and he's been pretty good. Number 10, first baseman is Build a Legend Todd Helton. We had a lot more first basemen qualify than we had catchers qualify, which is funny to me. But I think it's because Hedges, everybody has been running Perez and Hedges because they're cheap and they're the best defensive players at their position. And so I think there's a lot more, and so that's why you're not seeing as many plate appearances for the catchers, right? So we saw. Where'd they go? So we lost when I cut the live stuff, we lost a good 40,000 plate appearances or something for between Hedges and the other dude, Perez. So that's why you're seeing a whole bunch more first baseman qualify. 35 all time, 19 over the last 200 tournaments or so. And so Todd Helton comes in at number 10. Ben Taylor's pretty good too. I like that one. You've gotten 1 perfect this cycle. Chastity was DeGrom. Yeah, DeGrom might have to go to like a 105 rating pretty soon here and out of the park. You pulled a perfect Bueller, perfect for less than 12 hours. I hope you sold it the night you pulled it. Yeah, it's the Build a Legends is starting to show up a little bit. Better off pulling rare silvers. Yeah. Some of the live cards, the Trout's still working okay for me. But other than that, the live ones are kind of a mess. And yeah, and there again, yeah, you're right. There aren't too many historical catchers for silver. There's they're hard to find. So yeah, perfect. Matt Chapman very, very quickly. I don't blame you. Yeah, I would. Silver pack would be cool, like a silver historical pack that guarantees like 5 historical silvers. I'd probably pay 20,000 points for that or something. Helton comes in at number 10. So the nice thing about Helton is that he has some righty splits, probably enough so that he has to be platooned, unfortunately. But 10th in weighted on base average out of 19 first baseman, 10th in OPS, just outside the top 10 batting average, on base percentage, slugging, over 763 plate appearances. So still a pretty small sample size for him. Good strikeout avoidance, middle of the pack in walks, and plays okay defense. You know, right there in the top half defensively at first base, based off of really range, first base rating, error, stuff like that. Solid righty splits for Helton. He comes in at number 10. Number 9 is Vic Sire. 495 plate appearances, just 1038 all time. Putting up a 340 weighted on base average. And then a 772 OPS, 436 slugging, 335 on base percentage, all top 10. Sadly, defensively, he's pretty deficient defensively, ranking 18th out of 35 all time defensively. So he's definitely there in that second half of defensive first baseman. Decent range, okay first base rating. A 24 error rating is a little bit scary. Again, the right-handed splits. The avoid Ks is going to hurt a little bit. He's 17th out of 19 among first basemen in strikeouts. But pretty good power. Over 30 home runs per 600 plate appearances. 25 all time. I think it'll probably be somewhere in between that. Obviously, is what you're going to probably see out of him over time. 32nd out of 35. In strikeouts all time, and all time he ranks 30th. So had put up pretty good numbers over a 500 plate appearance sample size this week, but all time his numbers look way, way below that. I think this is people starting to be able to get their platoons in, though. I have a feeling that this is, hey, I got a pretty interesting looking silver card. I'm just going to play him every day. I think that this is below what you can expect from him. But I think this is probably pretty high as well. So it's gonna be, I'm gonna guess somewhere around league average in basically every offensive category. Okay, drive safe. No, I'm good. Thanks. So I think you can expect something kind of right around league average from Sire overall. I don't think he's a must use, but I think he's a usable card again, especially if you can platoon him against right-handed pitching. Number 8 is Dom Smith. They go perfect. You're selling them. They're unusable in league, let alone tourneys. Yeah, I accidentally locked 2 of my live perfects and was very unhappy with myself because I was trying to fill live collections and did not pay attention. Luckily, there are 2 that are probably, it's Tatis and Trout. So luckily, there are 2 that'll probably stay perfect throughout the season based off of their performance for now. Bieber 99 Live has had 2 seasons in bronze with 580. Yeah, Bieber is awful. I have not gotten a lot of good numbers out of Bieber. Dominic Smith at number 8, rating 342, weighted on base average, 780 OPS, 453 slugging this week. 14th defensively, so again, he's right there in the kind of top half defensively at first base, which isn't necessarily a position that I care about. Again, this is just from yesterday and today. He got 720 plate appearances yesterday and today. And I have to figure out a way to say more about him while Excel stops freezing on me. This dumb big 120 megabyte file is unhappy with me every now and then. Splits versus righties, so he can be the strong side of your platoon. 74 contact, 83 gap, 74 power, 51 eye, 47 avoid Ks versus righties. And so yeah, that's Dom Smith for you. Weighted on base average 8th all time, he ranks 10th. So, you know, again, it's kind of this week is kind of what I don't know what to expect out of him now that he's kind of resetting. So we'll see. It's probably going to be somewhere again, kind of right around league average with moderate defense. I think there's better options out there, but I think that he can play. Whitey Lachman comes in at number 7. Another card with solid right-handed splits. There are huge splits here in silver. Lots and lots of splits. Lachman rates 4 4th defensively and ranks 6th in weighted on base average this week with a 347. All-time ranks 12th with a 346. Again, 1,000 plate appearances this week, 3,100 all-time. Everything this week kind of right in line with what we've seen from him all time. The average is a tick below, but the slugging is a tick up. The strikeouts are going to be... I'm a little surprised to see the strikeouts this low, but kind of middle of the pack. 73 avoid Ks versus righties, 59 versus lefties. Another guy who can, I think, be the strong side of your platoon against left-handed pitching, or against right-handed pitching. I'm sorry. Yeah, good contact with good avoid Ks. He's going to have a pretty good on-base percentage and batting average because of that, and play okay defense. I like this Whitey Lachman card a little bit for my silver team. We'll see if we can find a left-handed platoon for him as we go through, shall we? Oh, I think we found him. Build a Legend Silver Paul Goldschmidt comes in at number 6. Solid 353 weighted on base average this week, which is 25 points or so above league average. Top 5 among first basemen. 805 OPS, 453 slugging, 351 on base percentage, 267 batting average for Goldschmidt. Ranks a little bit lower all time. The defense is not great at first base, but he is still a top 10 weighted on base average, top 8 slugging percentage, with just around 20 home runs per 600 plate appearances all time for Goldschmidt. And if you can platoon him against lefties, he should hit lefties pretty well and give you some pretty good base running to go along with it as well. I'm a little surprised to see some of these numbers this low. I think that, again, we're seeing a lot of overtime. Well, actually, this is 23. This is almost his entire sample size here. So I'm curious what you guys are seeing out of him. Again, yeah, defense is a little bit trashy, but if you can platoon him, maybe with Whitey Lachman, maybe with some of the other guys on our list, I think Goldschmidt can work. I think this is a card that can work. Or if you run a 14-player bench and a 12-player rotation / pitching staff, like some people do, like I have been trying out, maybe as a versus lefties designated hitter with the backup at first base, when he's not getting to hit, the 4 out of 5 games he's not getting to hit. So I think Goldschmidt is an interesting card if you can fit him as the left side of a platoon. A little bit less interesting as a versus righties, but still I think it's playable versus righties. I just think there's going to be a lot of guys on this list who perform a lot better versus the 80% of the pitchers that are out there in the format right now. Here's a guy with very little splits, except in avoid K. Well, actually, he's got pretty big splits versus righties and everything else. Les Fleming comes in at number 5. Pretty big splits versus righties here. So 17 points of contact, 13 points of gap, 14 points of power. The eye is about the same, just 3 points, but 11 points of avoid Ks versus righties for Les Fleming, with kind of defense. Again, 19th out of 35. Good for, the back half, the top end of the back half defensively. All time, he ranks 16th with a 351 weighted on base average and a pretty bad defense. But again, 356 weighted on base average over the last 200 tournaments or so. Very, very small sample size at 471, but a 377 on base percentage is okay. 262 batting average is I've seen better. But 420 slugging is good for just above league average, and a 798 OPS is pretty good too, right? It's a very on base percentage heavy OPS, which leaves it a little bit empty because it is walks heavy and not a lot of speed. But he'll get on base against righties. He'll probably get on base a little bit against lefties as well, just not as much. The average is going to be pretty low against left-handed pitching. Again, I think if you can platoon him versus righties, he can play a little bit, but I don't know that he'd be my number one choice. No off days is a little tough. Platooning every position would leave you with 3 relief pitchers. Yeah, that would be rough. Anyone ever tried a 4-man rotation in bronze, silver, turning Superman? I have not in these ones. I know some of the older, like the era tournaments, like I think the historical silver runs like in 1941. The Sporers is in 81. I don't think people do it in Sporers too much, but when you get back to like the 1940s, 1950s era tournaments where the fatigue regenerates pretty quickly for the pitchers, you see some people running 3 or 4-man rotations. But you don't see it too much in the open format, which is most of what we cover here on the stream. The Build a Legend cards seem to be purposely restricted with a 71, 72, 73 level numbers. Perhaps, yeah. Yeah. That's where we're at. Les Fleming at number 5. Hal Chase comes in at number 4. Man, I've loved this card for 2 years and I just can't find it. Never got it on the PAX only team last year. Never got a Hal Chase until I picked him up when I stopped being PAX only with like a month left in Perfect Team 21, and he mashed for me then. I really, really like this card. We liked him last time as well. He's dropped a little bit this time. I think he was actually number 1 when we did silver 2 weeks ago, and I know we came back to silver really fast. It's just I didn't want to do iron. Iron is so live heavy that I wanted to wait till next week to hit it again. Number 2 among first basemen in slugging percentage, number 1 all time. Number 2 offensively all time among first basemen. Again, the defense is not great. But this is a guy that can DH for you as well, right? So 77 contact, 64 gap, 78 power, 31 eye, 56 avoid Ks. And not really any splits. He can DH for you every day. He's going to run. He can sack bunt if you really want him to. He's not the kind of profile that I want sack bunting a lot, though. I like this card. 30 plus home runs, 40 steals. I mean, he's a 30-30 player, a 30-40 player, maybe even. It's just a really, really cool card. I think it's a really cool card. Yeah, he's a good bat. Again, if you can DH him, great. If you have to play him at first base, then I think the 20 error is terrible, but the 58 first base rating makes up for it just a little bit. I like him. I like this card as a first baseman if you can't platoon at first base. I think if you're looking at a straight platoon at first base, there's better options. But if you really want somebody who can play against both lefties and righties at first base, I think Chase may be kind of the go-to guy there. Number 3 is Dave Revering, who has huge splits against right-handed pitching. So we're looking at 16 points of contact, 15 points of gap, 16 points of power, and 15 points of avoid Ks. Again, a 20 error rating, but a 77 first base rating here makes up for it a little bit. How much? I don't know. But these are really, really solid numbers versus righties. Putting up a 288 average, a 340 on base percentage, a 498 slugging, an 838 OPS, and a 365 weighted on base average over the last 200 tournaments. Right around 30 home runs per 600. Will strike out a little bit, but not a ton. Won't walk very much, so the on-base percentage is going to be a little bit lower, but the batting average is going to be high. I really like this card as the right-hand side of a platoon as a first baseman or as a designated hitter. Number 2 in WAR over the last 200 tournaments. And if you can, maybe with a Goldschmidt, perhaps, who knows. Number 2 is Jake Daubert. This is another guy with some pretty significant splits against righties. He's going to be less power and more on base percentage than the Revering. And the defense is a mixed bag, right? We got the error is a little bit better. You got 22 points of error, but the first base rating goes down a little bit. Error to me at first base, I think, is more important than necessarily the first base rating. So I like him a little bit more defensively. Gives you a little bit of speed here, does the Daubert. Pretty good numbers versus righties. He'll have a pretty good batting average against right-handed pitching. Again, if you can platoon him. Number 1 in weighted on base average among first basemen. Just gets dragged down a little bit by that defense. 20 plus home runs. You're going to have a 300 plus batting average. You may see a 310, 315 batting average against right-handed pitching for Daubert with 15 to 20 home runs. This is a pretty good card too. There's a lot of really good options here in silver. Yeah, I think both the Daubert and the Revering are good potential platoon options. Strikeouts to be a real issue, Marley. For who? With who? With Revering or with Chase? I'm catching up a little bit on the chat. Sorry. Low gap, bad, right? Low gap, so he's not going to hit a lot of doubles. But he'll make up for that. He's going to be on base and he can run too. So the low gap isn't great. It's gonna drag his slugging down and his OPS down just a little bit. But he's going to be on base all the time and he's a good base runner is the thing. If it was a low gap with like really bad speed or something where he was only hitting singles, then I think the gap becomes a little bit more important then. But I don't necessarily look at gap so much as, was it Revering at 3? Revering was at 3, yeah. He was right here at 3. But I don't think it's not empty singles. It's not empty singles, and it's not empty on base percentage because of the fact that he can run a little bit. Whereas if it was like the Revering and his gap was a little bit lower, then I'd have a little bit more concerns. But I think the Daubert card can play too. Daubert has the better on base percentage, while Revering has better slugging. Yep, absolutely agree. Both of them platoon versus righties. Both of them platoon versus righties, and they're different things. Whichever one fits in your lineup better, I think, can play. Number 1, who is it? I don't even know. Let's find out. Number 1, Ben Taylor comes in at number 1. Here's another guy with pretty serious platoons versus righties. So again, maybe platoon him with Goldschmidt. Pretty solid defense at first base, ranks 7th defensively, ranks number 1 offensively at first base this week. Over 2,100 plate appearances, you got a 367 weighted on base average, 314 batting average, 376 on base percentage, 460 slugging, 822 OPS. With a little bit of speed, 15 steals, about 10 home runs, not a ton of power here. This card is really, really good. So our top 3 are all versus righty platoon splits. Not a lot of versus lefties here, right? We had, what do we have? Chase can hit lefties. You got Goldschmidt can really hit lefties, and that's about it in our top 10 for first baseman who can really hit lefties. Everybody else has pretty significant platoon splits versus right-handed pitching. If we go Glenn Davis at number 11 can hit versus lefties, so maybe another idea for a platoon. 20 plus home runs, just outside the top 10. I think if you can platoon him, you're gonna see numbers a little bit better than some of these, especially on the slugging and on the OPS. The slugging and the OPS will both come up a little bit if you can platoon him. Pretty small sample size on him right now, but it's not a bad looking card. And so I think it's kind of it almost becomes a tournament where you kind of have to run platoons. Honestly, not that terrible versus lefties. Yeah, where do you go? Let's get back up to Ben Taylor. This card is not unplayable versus lefties either. Again, the platoon is significant versus righties, but I think he's gonna hit lefties pretty good too and play pretty good defense. I love this card. I think I'm gonna plug him in as our first baseman, and I'm just gonna say I want this card as my other first baseman. And for now, I'm gonna plug Hal Chase in as my designated hitter as well. For now, I did not set catchers. I forgot to set catchers. I might come back to that later. Those are your first basemen. Did Joe Rudi or Babe Young qualify? Joe Rudi's here somewhere. Let me see if I can find him. Lucroy was at 12. Babe Young was at 13. Again, righty splits here. Hurt him just a little bit. I don't think people have their teams quite built up enough to where they're platooning. I think he'll mash against righties. I think he'll hit pretty well against right-handed pitching, and I have a feeling that these numbers are deflated due to not being platooned and a pretty small sample size on Babe Young as well. These are numbers that could come up very quickly with a larger sample size if you manage to get him into a platoon. 14 was George Scott. There's another potential lefty platoon. Joe Rudi was at 15. Another potential lefty platoon. I think he gets hurt a little bit because, well, he's not very good defensively. All around kind of a mess defensively. But I think he gets hurt just because there's so few right-handed pitchers or so few left-handed pitchers in the format. He doesn't get to play much. I think this is a card that it's going to have a low on-base percentage, but I think it'll play in the versus lefty side of a platoon. I think that Goldschmidt's a little bit better versus lefties than the Joe Rudi, though. He comes in at 15. Nick Etten at 16. All-Star Benji Gill at 17. And Bruce Petway at 18. Just doesn't stack up against the first baseman. And Walter Kennedy comes in at number 19. We might see him here. Not making any promises, though. Let's move on to second baseman so that we're not here all day. Ben Taylor was number 1. Away. Here we go. There we go. Second baseman. Here's a card that, if this is what he turns into, I'm going to be pretty happy. Jarren Duran. His Future Legend card looks like a really solid silver. Platoon splits versus righties is probably helping him out here just a little bit. 2 points of power, 2 points of eye, 3 points of avoid K, 3 points of gap, and 7 points of contact. Help him a little bit. The batting average is going to be slightly better against righties than against lefties. Decent outfield. Okay, second baseman. He's grading out 27th out of 38. There's a middle tier at second base defense. There's a very small high-end second base defense, and then there's a middle tier, and then there's some guys that you just don't want playing in the field. Duran is pretty firmly in that middle tier of second baseman. Where the turn double play is okay, the error is okay, the range is kind of gross. The arm will play at second base. I mean, you're not asking him to throw it across the diamond or anything like that. The positional flexibility is good. He plays 3 positions pretty well. I don't think offensively he quite stacks up among the right fielders. He might against the center fielders, but among second basemen, he's a pretty solid top 10 hitter over the last 200 tournaments or so. All-time 326, 736 OPS, 406 slugging for him with a good, not great batting average and on-base percentage. Kind of a number 10 is pretty clearly where he stands here. Number 9, Judd Wilson shows up. 784 plate appearances for him, a 327 weighted on-base average. Good range, good arm. I like him better at third base. I don't know if we're going to see him at third base. He ranks 22nd defensively. And among second basemen, but offensively, I don't know that he stacks up among the third baseman. It's one of those weird cards that has multiple positional flexibility, but what makes him good at second base kind of drags him down a little bit, and what makes him good at third base kind of drags him down a little bit too, if that makes any sense. Pretty decent versus righty splits, so good for the format. 76 contact, 83 gap, 70 avoid Ks with good speed to go along with it. It's a card I like. It's a card that I definitely think plays here. You got a historical diamond, Matt Kemp, from your first Twitch pack of the stream. Congratulations. Con says Pete Rose number 1 at second base. I'm not sure. You hate to see secondary positions dominate natural ones. That's fair. So I've gone back and forth on positions, and I went to there was 1 week where I just used the position they were rated the best at as what we were looking at, and I didn't like it that much. And so now I'm looking at, so now what I'm doing to determine who shows up at what positions is at first base and third base, it's 30 plus, second base, shortstop, it's 40 plus, outfield is all 40 plus, catchers, minimum 40 plus rating. So we shouldn't see like a 25 rated second baseman pop up on the list, but because he's got a 50 second base rating, that's why he's eligible to be on the second base list right now. I am always willing to take feedback on that and on how I decide who's going to be showing up at each position. I may go back to just the best position to where Judd Wilson will just show up at third base, but I think that there's value in seeing where they fit in at multiple positions as well. So I'm not sold one way or the other on either way of doing it. But he comes in at number 9 among second basemen. Again, pretty solid offensive second baseman, dragged down a bit by the defense. David Fletcher, over yesterday and today, dropped to 305 weighted on base average, 321 slugging, but is a very, very good defensive second baseman. I don't think that the bat holds up very much here in silver, but he's a phenomenal utility player still in this format. I'm not going to spend too much time on him. He has very little splits. They split a little bit towards lefties as opposed to versus righties, but he continues to be a very, very solid choice for a utility infielder, even here at silver. But the bat is going to play down a little bit here at silver as well. So keep that in mind. Oh, I got you. Yeah, you don't like the meta. I like that they've made it a lot harder to plug guys in at positions that they weren't good at. Number 7 is Mark DeRosa. So DeRosa's got some splits, weird splits versus lefties. You got 7 points of contact versus righties, but you got 15 points of gap versus lefties. But you got 13 points of power versus righties, but you got 15 points of eye versus lefties, but you got 5 points of avoid K versus righties. I don't know what to say about this card. He's not good defensively. He's not going to match up defensively among the rest of them, but somehow and 427 plate appearances, put up a 340 weighted on base average while dropping a 255 batting average. This card doesn't make a ton of sense to me. A 355 on base percentage, a 406 slugging, and a 762 OPS, which is actually down from his numbers all time. 266 average all time, which is actually not bad. It's pretty close to league average. 360 on base percentage, 412 slugging, 772 OPS, 344 weighted on base average. I don't love him as a second baseman. I don't think I would consider playing him as an everyday starting second baseman. The bat plays up a little bit here. Maybe as a utility left fielder and right fielder, perhaps. I think he can play at either of those positions. Maybe as a utility third baseman, maybe. He just screams utility player to me. And it's hard with splits like this for me to say he's a must-use utility player, but these are the numbers we got out of him this week. Yeah, huge defensive liability at second base. I don't play him at second base. I'm not sure what the rest of the second base list looks like yet, so I may have to make some adjustments on my defensive ratings at second base. Or look into, let me make sure that the numbers are working out well, because those are some pretty bad defensive second basemen up there at the top of the list. Give me 1 second to make sure that I didn't fudge second base up this week, because that's definitely a possibility. No, it's there, so everything looks good. I mean, it is. That's it happens sometimes. Sometimes the numbers just don't match what we want them to match, and that's what happened this week with Mark DeRosa, whose name I already forgot. Alex Cintron comes in at number 6. Platoon versus lefties, he's going to be okay defensively at second base. I like him better defensively at third base, not so much at shortstop. But he's going to hit really well against lefties. If you can put him on the left-handed side of a platoon, he's going to have a really solid batting average. 293 overall, 337 on-base percentage, 417 slugging. I don't love any of these second basemen so far. Will not strike out. All-time, he ranks 10th among second basemen out of 38. Thanks to a 336 all-time weighted on-base average, 295 batting average, 421 slugging. He is a pretty solid bat. Yeah, I can definitely see him as a bench bat. He's good enough that he can play some second base and be a backup second baseman. He's definitely good enough to be a backup third baseman. I'd hesitate on shortstop, but coming off the bench against left-handed relief pitching, he's going to mash. I can absolutely see a case for him being a very, very good bench bat in silver. As someone who grinds silver, a lot of teams put second base defense with Rosa and such. Yeah, I can see it too. The punting at second base defense. You've seen the teams that win a lot have Cintron starting at third. That's interesting, and I can see him being. Yeah, I can absolutely see him being a starting third baseman as well, or even like a versus left-handed platoon at third base. We'll see what else is on the third base list. The avoid K is crazy. I agree. You were hoping the Negro League collection would break the mold. I don't think that's going to happen. Some of them are very good. Not all of them are playing up to what we want them to see. Platoon Cintron at second base with Arias. We'll see. I don't know if Arias is. It looks like he. Come on, Excel. We might have just crashed. Nope, we're back. It looks like Arias might qualify. We'll see where he shows up. Number 5, Pete Rose, build a legend at number 5. Defensively, not great. 33.5 defensively. Offensively, looks really solid. Number 4, offensive bat at second base. 341 weighted on base average, 774 OPS, 426 slugging, 290 batting average. 10 home runs. He comes in at number 5. Solid versus righty splits. You got 18 points of gap. You got 9 points of power, 9 points of I, but you do lose 18 points of avoid K. He's going to have a pretty good batting average versus lefties. He's going to hit for a little bit more power, have a little bit more slugging versus righties, and play defense. I kind of like him in left field better, but I do also think that there are a lot of really good offensive cards in left field here too that he may not stack up against. We'll see that list when we get there. 8,200 plate appearances for him. Everybody using him. It looks like most people are using him as a left fielder. Oh, one thing I need to point out is that these are the current numbers are as a second baseman. The top is all time, as every position basically is what the top is plate appearances all time. So it's a little bit of a mix there. I need to add new tables to fix that, and that'll be fixed for next week. I hope, if I have time. This week was just ridiculous and very busy. Number 4 is Harry Heilman, coming in at number 4. 32nd defensively. God, I hate this second base list so much right now. Versus lefties, you've got 10 points of contact. Versus righties, you've got 18 points of gap. Versus lefties, you've got 11 points of power. You've got 11 points of I, and you've got 13 points of avoid K. I think he's going to hit pretty well against lefties, personally. I think he's going to play kind of crummy defense at second base. And he's not going to put up enough offensive numbers to be a first baseman, and he doesn't look good enough to play in the outfield. Not in love with this silver Harry Heilman card. I know people like the gold one a lot. He's your cap first baseman. I can see that. I can see that working out. Good afternoon, DishNet. Thanks for stopping by. He did not place on the first base list, and I'm not positive why he didn't place on the first base list. Might be a plate appearance thing. Not a lot of plate appearances for him, and I don't think he matched up. Let's see, 338 weighted on base average would have been way outside the top 10 at first base too. So that might be why. I think his numbers just don't quite match up against the other silver first baseman. Where'd he go? And so I think it was just the numbers were a little bit low. I didn't see him on the first base list at all, now that you mention it, which is weird. See what's going on there. Oh, you know what it might be? I think I know what it is. Let's go over here real quick. I know exactly what it is. I know what it is. So I had a billion D first baseman that qualified, and so I moved the cutoff up to 500 plate appearances all time for first base, but at second base it's still down a little bit lower. So that's why he's showing up on the second base list and not the first base list for Heilman. Let's check out first base if I adjust it down to, what's he at, 433? Let's just set it to his cutoff and see what happens at first base for Heilman. He should show up right around here. And let's find out what happens, shall we? Because I aim to please. 9, Dom Smith. Heilman shows up in number 8. If he had qualified, he'd be number 8 among first basemen. What's that? Your Tigers theme team, the gold is playing first base. The Heilman is playing first base. I don't know if it's the dumbest decision you've ever made, but bronze tweak for the day. Let's see if you can get eliminated. You like Gates a lot. Or are we talking about Gates? Starting center fielder, Brent Gates, probably the best overall second baseman, so maybe that's who they're running. Perhaps. I like the Nick Allen too. We'll see where he makes sense. So yeah, it was a plate appearance sample size thing for Heilman. I like him a little bit better at first base than second base. I don't love this defense at second base, but the bat plays up a little bit at second base where it may not play up quite as much at first base. Number 3, Bobby Avila comes in at number 3. We've got some serious splits versus lefties here, so perhaps the left-hand side of a platoon with a top 10 second base defense here in silver. 363 on base percentage for Bobby Avila, a 330 weighted on base average, a 730 OPS, a little bit of steals, some average. You got an okay bat here against lefties, and pretty good defense to go along with it. I mean, I don't have a ton more to say about Bobby Avila. He looks like he can play versus lefties. I don't know about versus righties. He'll hit a little bit more slugging versus righties, but not by much because the gap drops so much. But he will probably hit pretty well versus lefties. The defense is number 8. He's definitely second tier, second base defense. But still, okay. I think he plays. Okay, you think Bob Vila is better than Avila? You wonder if he's related to Alex Avila? I don't know. I kind of like this card as the left-hand side of a platoon at second base. I think he looks okay. A little bit of offense with some okay defense to go along with it. You see a lot of the offensive second basemen have very poor defense. The problem with Avila is that he only plays second base. So he's either going to be your everyday second baseman where he's going to struggle a little bit against righties, or you're going to be running a straight platoon at second base. depending on how many players you can fit in your team, that may be a reasonable option for you, or it may not be. So that's Bobby Avila. Number 2 is Build a Legend Ryan Sandberg coming in 16th defensively. So not great defensively, but not terrible. Almost a 300 batting average. 297, a 348 on base percentage, of 424 slugging, 773 OPS, and a 341 weighted on base average. Interesting splits. You get a little bit of eye, a little bit of power versus righties. You get a little bit of contact, a little bit of gap, and a little bit of avoid Ks versus lefties. Left-hand side of a platoon, similar, better batting average, lower power, little bit worse defense than Avila versus lefties. And then versus righties, I mean, not unplayable versus righties, but again, you're kind of looking at a platoon, only plays second base as well. Chaston Ruin loves Rhino. Boxes that keep popping. Stop giving me packs out of the park. Let's see. Who was 4 and 3? 5 and 4. 5 and 4 were Pete Rose and Heilman. Sandberg at 2. This is where I always get nervous. Who's number 1 and why do we hate it? Number 1, Jeff Mcneil plays against righties. Second base, 51 rating. Terrible defensively. Very good bat, over 727 plate appearances. I don't love him at second base. Let's see if he shows up on the right field list. Let's see if we can find Luis Arias and see what he's done. I don't love that card at number 1. Brent Gates at number 11. Rating 6 defensively with good range, good second base rating, decent arm, good okay error rating. Definitely second tier of defense, but pretty solid bat against both lefties and righties. Good contact, pretty good avoid Ks, no splits. Solid looking everyday second baseman, I think, for Gates. 13th hitting among second basemen right now, 15th all time. I don't hate the Gates card. Here's Arias. 5th in average, 6th in on base percentage. Can run a little bit, plays pretty good defense at second base. Maybe the right hand side of a platoon, or utility, not so much. Really is limited to second base. I think his ratings at the other positions aren't that great, but pretty solid bat versus righties. You're gonna get a pretty good batting average out of Arias. Roll back down. I lost that. No, Mcneil was number 1, which is, I didn't love it. I didn't love him at number 1. What do you guys think? Is there anybody you guys want to see? Was it gold last week? Yeah, so he's down to silver this week. He'll do better in silver than he did in gold. Yeah, he looks like a pretty solid bat here in silver. He definitely adjusted down. Rhino was number 2. Yeah, Ryan Sandberg was number 2. And Simple Enigma might be your all-time favorite player. I don't know who we're talking about there. Ryan Sandberg, yeah. Heilman was at 4 at second base. Yeah, 8 at first base once we adjusted the qualifiers, and 4 at second base, though I don't love him at second base. I'm not in love with any of the second base cards here, and I think a lot of them play. Like, I like a lot of them. There's not one that stands out to me that makes me go, I really have to have that guy on the team. I wish it was Jarren Duran. I won't lie. I like Avila as if you can platoon him. Sandberg looks okay. Mcneil looks like, if you're willing to go kind of mediocre defense at second base with like an Avila McNeil platoon, perhaps. I mean, this card is just gonna kill right-handed pitching here in silver. I really, if you can live with this kind of defense at second base, I think this card is kind of a versus righties masher here at second base. I like Rhino as he can play against either. I think he can play against lefties and righties. I think, again, you're going to see a better batting average, but probably a little bit better slugging, maybe even a better on-base percentage against righties. He can play against both, though. So there you go. Those are your second basemen. Again, not in love with any of them, but I don't hate any of them either. I really glanced over Mcneil really quickly, but looking at him a second time, I don't hate it. Like, I think that he plays. I think he can play as a second baseman here. I don't know that he keeps up these ridiculous numbers. I think the numbers probably drop a little bit, but especially if you can platoon him, and he's not unplayable versus lefties either. And defensively, again, there's that tier in the middle that's kind of just a whole lot of like 25 dudes or so that are just smushed in that second tier of defensive players here at second base that aren't absolutely terrible, but aren't necessarily good enough that I would say play them for their defense either. But not necessarily bad enough that I would say don't play them because of their defense. You think you're going to go with Arias because he's been awesome? Arias is pretty awesome. I don't have a number one. Let's do this. You know what? I'm going to set Mcneil as my versus righties, and I'm going to go with Avila versus lefties. I'm going to be crazy. I'm going to be a wild and crazy guy and go with a straight platoon at second base with Avila and Mcneil and see how many losses we can get in a row. Are we good? Let's move on to third baseman before I run out of time. What time is it? Holy smokes. I'm going to need a break soon. The water going. Mark DeRosa comes in at number 10. The 41 arm terrifies me at third base with a 33 third base rating. Don't love him defensively. He's 31 out of 33 defensively, but dropped the number one weighted on base average among third basemen this week at 340 and the number one on base percentage among third basemen this week at 355 over a 427 plate appearance sample size. Pretty small sample size. All-time 344 weighted on base average. Both of those were actually below his all-time numbers too. 360 all-time, 344 weighted on base average all-time. Pretty solid looking offensive third baseman. Second baseman, left field, right field. I know we talked about him briefly at second base. I think he's an interesting looking bat as a utility guy, perhaps. Maybe. Brooks is still the most used third baseman. We'll see if he's at number one. Mcneil has a 358 weighted on base average and 2,000 plate appearances for me if you're worried about sample size. I like it. That looks good. You got a lot more silver sample size the last couple days than I did. Beltre cards are hard to find on the auction house. Yes, they are. Number 9 is Beltre. I like this card. Almost a top 10 defensive third baseman. Probably should be. I should probably be rating his arm a little bit higher with the range. The error drags him down a little bit. I think he's a pretty solid defensive third baseman who hits okay. Top 10 batting average, 316 on base percentage. Pretty small sample size. Not a ton of sample size on Beltre just yet. Can run a little bit. Top 5 in speed and base running among third basemen here in silver. And putting up pretty solid numbers. A 372 slugging, 316 on base percentage, 263 average for Beltre. He comes in at number 9. Number 8 is Yoan Moncada. Live Moncada, 692 plate appearance sample size, dropped a 308 weighted on base average. 11th defensively. That's suspect. Too much range. I actually think Beltre. I think I like Beltre a little bit better defensively. They're kind of right there. They're clumped together. The arm for Beltre is a little bit better. The error for Moncada is a little bit better. And the third base rating is right around the same. That's a tough one. Defensively, I think I like Beltre slightly better. Offensively, I long term think I like Beltre better. Really similar numbers here. I don't think Moncada's numbers hold up all time, although he does split towards righties. I know I'm going back and forth quite a bit here, and Beltre splits towards righties too, so I like Beltre better than Moncada. I think this is a small sample size kind of aberration here on Moncada. But again, not unplayable. I think he's playable for sure. I definitely lean Beltre between the two of these guys too, though, as well. Live Gio Urshela comes in at number 7. Defensively, a tick above those two. 73 range, 75 arm, 61 error, 66 third base rating. Offensively, a tick below those two. Though doesn't look unplayable either. I think that he looks like a playable card, especially with against either or. I think he's going to hit pretty okay against righties. He'll hit okay against lefties. I think the other two guys will definitely be a tick above him offensively at a position where we like offense a little bit more than defense. But I don't think Urshela is unplayable. 301 weighted on base average over almost 600 plate appearances. I think these numbers drop a little bit. I don't think these numbers stay up this high. The average is concerning. The on-base percentage is pretty bad. And he's grading out 14th out of 15 offensively here at third base. Defensively, he looks okay. Offensively, I don't love him. I really don't love him here at third base. Number 6, John Beckwith comes in at number 6. Could it be Silver 2007 Mike Lowell? Who will be chosen one to dethrone Brooks? Yeah, maybe 2007 Mike Lowell. That would be fun for you, Karin. And let's see. You're putting up a Roseboro for right around last 10 if anybody's interested in getting your catcher. I wish I was not streaming right now. I would go do that. Beckwith is interesting. This is a pretty interesting looking card to me. I actually kind of like him as a utility infielder. First base, third base, shortstop. I try to keep my guys in these tournaments down to 2 positions or less. And so he would probably go in as like a third baseman / shortstop. Very good avoid Ks, very low I. He's not going to walk, but the avoid Ks is going to put the ball in play, and he can run. I think you're going to see an okay on-base percentage. Again, small sample size here. We're seeing a 305 weighted on base average from him, which is right around Beltre and the other guy that we saw there. Who was it? Moncada, the 305. We're seeing a pretty good batting average at 275, on base percentage 313. No home runs, but he can run. Number 2 in steals, which I think could actually be a little bit higher if people were pushing him a little bit. I think you could probably coax 15 to 20 steals out of a guy with 80 speed, 85 steals. Maybe not that much. But I think you can get more than 9 for sure. And I think he's an interesting option as a utility guy. He's going to mash versus lefties. If you can platoon him, even better. But I think that he's going to have an okay batting average against righties as well. Third string catcher. Yeah, no, a catcher rating, a catcher arm of 3, a catcher ability of 2, and a catcher rating of 1. So if you're looking for a defensive catcher, this is not your guy. But solid third base ratings. I like him at third base. We'll see where he matches up at shortstop. He ranks 7th defensively at third base, though. So we'll see if he shows up on that shortstop list as well. Number 5 is Cintron. We saw him at second base. I actually really like him here at third base against lefties. Offensively, he's grading out number 3 among third basemen, which is pretty solid. A 293 average, 337, third in weighted on base average, and third overall offensively among third basemen. Again, that second tier defensively, the 65 range, 56 arm, 57 error. I think that this is kind of that third tier defensively at third base. But Cintron, man, this dude will just... He's just going to mash against lefties. I like this card quite a bit right now. Fletcher comes in at 4. 13th offensively. 12th in weighted on base average. 276 batting average. 321 on base percentage with good defense. I think Fletcher plays as a utility guy here. Again, if you're looking for a guy... here's what I'll say about David Fletcher. If you're looking for a guy who can play all 3 infield positions, I don't think there are many guys who you're going to get more defensively out of than David Fletcher. And you're going to get a pretty solid batting average and on-base percentage to go along with it. I think when you cut that down to guys who you only want to play 2. So like I said, I like to try to keep my guys in these tournaments down to 2 utility positions. And I think if you cut that down to 2, I think your list becomes a little bit bigger. If you're running a guy if you want a guy who can play all 3 infield positions defensively and give you some okay offense to go along with it, Fletcher's probably your guy. I think if you're trying to keep guys at 2 or less, I think your sample, your ability to pick and choose players improves just a little bit. I think Fletcher's playable here in silver. I don't know that he'd be the number 4 third baseman long term if you were trying to start him here, but I think he's a pretty solid utility infielder here, even in silver. Freddy Sanchez comes in at number 3. Special edition Pittsburgh Pirates Freddy Sanchez. I've been entering some of those weekly tournaments just to try to get my hands on this card because versus right-handed pitching, this card is stupid. 86 contact, 83 gap, 90 avoid Ks versus righties. If you have this card, I would consider playing him against righties. I would consider platooning this card at third base. Even though the defense is a little bit deficient, this card is just a 321 average, 348 on base percentage, 769 OPS, 388 weighted on base, 338 weighted on base average. Apologies. Strikeouts are a little higher than you would expect. I think if you can platoon him, this number will actually come down a little bit, and these numbers might even go up. Doesn't really run. It's a really weird profile because he doesn't really run. But because there's doubles here, because it's going to be a pretty solid slugging, and he's going to be on second base and not being stuck on first base, clogging your base pads up, I think this is a really phenomenal card against righties. His defense at shortstop is better than most in bronze. Oh yeah, Fletcher. Yeah, I agree. You use Fletcher as 3. You love him. This card is just gonna match versus righties. There is a lot of red. You're not gonna get a lot of power. You're not gonna get any walks. But even with not getting any walks, like he's last, he's 14th, 22 walks per 600, right? And he's still number 2 in on base percentage among third basemen, which is a pretty strong offensive position. I like this card against righties at third base. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to plug him in as the third baseman I want versus righties and probably never see him ever. Number 2 is Judd Wilson. We saw him a little bit at second base. Let's talk about him here at third base because he matches up a little bit better here at third base, I think. He's got the arm and the range help him out here. The error is a little bit low. Which again is a little bit concerning. It's more concerning to me at second base than it is here at third base. But offensively, you're seeing a 278 average, pretty solid slugging at 433. Lots of doubles. Again, he's kind of the right-handed side of a platoon. Might be a little bit easier to find than Freddy Sanchez. Doesn't have quite as much red as Freddy Sanchez. Can run the bases. So maybe this is the guy we want as our versus right-handed platoon instead of Sanchez. The average is going to be lower, significantly lower. I think the on-base percentage is going to be significantly lower as well. But you're going to get a little bit more slugging. You're going to get a little bit better base running. And you're going to get... See, defensively, he's 14th. Defensively, he's 10th. I think you're going to get slightly better defense out of... Well, you'll definitely get better defense out of Wilson. So, you know what? I just changed my mind. And I'm going with Judd Wilson versus righties at third base. I don't have a choice versus lefties yet. I haven't seen one that I'm like, I really want... Maybe Cintron, but I think I plugged Cintron in at second, right? No, I had Avila at second. So maybe a Cintron platoon versus lefties at third base. I know none of you can read this. It's zoomed out very far right now because I was trying to see everything. That was very hard to see even for me. So I can't imagine what that was like for you guys. Maybe... Where's Cintron? Where'd he go? Maybe Cintron versus lefties. Let's see. Let's plug him in for now, and then we'll see who number 1 is. Who's number 1? Oh, dang it. All right, Brooks Robinson. Brooks Robinson versus lefties and versus righties. Solid bat. Number 5 offensively. Number 1 defensively at third base. Very easy card to get your hands on as well. 79 rated special edition live collection, Brooks Robinson. I think if you can get a platoon going at third, you're going to get a little bit more offensively out of like the platoon I was looking at, the Cintron plus the Wilson, or the Cintron plus the Freddy Sanchez. I think you're going to get a little bit more offensively, but I don't think there's too many cards in silver that combine offense and defense quite the way this special edition Brooks Robinson does, and I think it's a very usable card. I like them. I think that it's probably the only card in silver right now that I go, you should probably have this guy on your team because he does everything pretty well. You got solid batting average versus lefties. You're going to have pretty solid batting average versus righties. You got a little bit of power. Doesn't really run, but he's not a net negative base runner either. It's not like that Sanchez that's all red across the board here, and it plays good defense at one position. And like he's going to hit against lefties and righties. I think he's the best third base option here in silver. Yeah, I accept that. Let's move on. Let's look at the other third baseman. Let's back up and see who the other 5 third basemen were. So we had Sano, who's got some power, but that's about it. This is your 2021 live Sano with 30 plus home runs over a 500 plate appearance sample size. Not very good defensively, and that's about all he's going to do. He's going to strike out more times than he comes up to the plate as well. Kennedy came in at number 12. 8th defensively, not matching up offensively against the rest of these third basemen. Just not quite there offensively. Again, let's see where he shows up at shortstop, or if he shows up at shortstop. Arias comes in at 13. Pretty bad defensively at third base. I mean, he'll be okay defensively at third base. Not terrible, but he's not going to be a positive at third base, and he'll get that batting average, the on-base percentage. I like him better at second base, though. George Scott at number 14. Not very good defensively. 7th best offensive bat. Splits versus lefties. Maybe the left-hand side of a platoon if you can hide him versus lefties. And number 15 was Bill Robinson, who definitely looks like an interesting left-hand side of a platoon. I think this card will not hit very well against right-handed pitching at all. But I think this is a card based off of this is my first time really looking at it. This is a card that's going to hit pretty good against lefties if you can get him in there versus lefties. Maybe a little bit of a low on-base percentage batting average, but good gap, good power, good contact combination. Defensively, I don't love it. We'll see if he shows up in left field. I don't think he's going to show up in left field either, though. I think his bat's going to be just a little bit behind some of those other left fielders and right fielders, and he won't qualify in center field, but I don't know. If you can platoon him, I think he can hit pretty well. Let's do shortstops, then I'm going to take a quick break. The Wilson could be dynamite off the bench. Agreed. You switch from Brooks to Duffy. Doesn't seem to be much of a difference. I haven't seen the Duffy here in silver. He's someone. They're a third baseman that walks. Not really. Nice looking card too. Yeah, there's a couple good looking cards here in silver. When did George Scott play third base? You remember him at first base? I'm not old enough to remember George Scott. What was his rating at third base? I don't think it was very good. He was at 14, right? A 40 third base rating. Let's check him out because we like having fun here, right? You can spell his name right. Let's see what years he played third base. 5. He played third base in 67. He played a little bit of third base in 68, it looks like. And he played a little bit in 75 as well, and a little bit in 79 as well, and a little bit in 66. So 66, 67, 68. And then he got some time as a third baseman in 75 and 79. So must have just made it over that 10% mark to get a third base rating for... Where'd you guys go? I lost you guys. The Pendleton outperformed your 99 Pendleton so far at third base in Maine. I'm not surprised. I think we're moving Nomar to third base at Maine on the main team as well. I'm not super impressed with the Pendleton. He looks great. It looks so good, but it just hasn't performed as well as I would like. And that's George Scott at 14. Shortstops, we had 15 qualify. Holy smokes, we saw David Fletcher on this list. I'm not going to talk about him anymore. Number 9 is John Beckwith. Grades out 16th defensively out of 32 all-time qualifiers at shortstop. Offensively, had a pretty solid week at number 6 this week. All-time, not quite matching up, 20th. It's such an interesting card if you can platoon him versus lefties. It's a really interesting looking card to me. I need more of a sample size on John Beckwith. Defensively, he's definitely a tier below some of the better defensive cards here in silver. You do start seeing some pretty good defensive cards here at shortstop in silver. But offensively, a 305 weighted on base average, 275 average. I could see these numbers coming up a little bit over time as well. The on-base percentage, the batting average specifically, especially if people can platoon him. The slugging, he could be. This is a really interesting looking card to me. But I need more of a sample size to decide how much I like it. Number 8 is Benji Gill. Interesting. 432 plate appearances this week. 4th in weighted on base average. 4th in OPS. All-time 11th. All-time 12th offensively. This week he was 5th offensively with some okay defense to go along with it. This isn't a terrible looking defensive card. 88 range, 80 arm. The 52 error I don't like very much, but a 72 shortstop rating is not terrible. So far, not in love with the shortstop list though. I don't know if he keeps it up. He's got weird splits too. So 11 points of gap, 5 points of power versus righties. Actually a reverse split here. Almost. Not quite a full reverse split because the I and avoid Ks are a little bit better. And the contact's barely better versus lefties. I don't know what to say about this card. Does anybody have any input on this Benji Gill card? Beckwith's got a 330 weighted on base average and 700 plate appearances for you, so it's hard to say. Yeah, there's not a lot of them out there yet. Just made the cut for third base, 219 out of 1992 games at third base. Gotcha. So yeah, it's 10%, right? So just barely made it. I don't know what to say about this Gill card right now. I'm kind of at a loss. I don't hate it, but I don't really like it. I don't even know that I dislike it. Like, I'm just kind of... I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about it. Let's move on. Tyler Freeman, Future Legend, comes in at number 7. This is a card that if you can platoon it against lefties is going to be pretty solid offensively. The defense is definitely poor. Mediocre. Bottom end of mediocre, high end of poor defensively for Freeman. I think it's shortstop here in silver. If these ratings were a bronze card, I'd be all over it in bronze, but unfortunately we're in silver now, and so I don't think this Freeman quite plays up defensively. And it's hard to say use him as a utility infielder because the second base rating is so poor, but this is a card that is going to absolutely crush left-handed pitching. And if you can live with this kind of defense behind your pitchers every 4 or 5 days, which is all he's going to play if you platoon him at shortstop, you know, a platoon versus lefties, and he's going to hit versus righties too. Like, this is a card that should hit pretty well. Number 1 offensively among shortstops this week. All time, it was even a tick below all time. 290 average, 356 on base percentage, 403 slugging, 760 OPS, and 337 weighted on base average. And I will say that I feel like, I'm sorry, I got really loud there for a second. I'm sorry for shouting at you guys. I will say that in my experience so far in Perfect Team 22, I feel like at these lower levels up to silver and maybe even gold, defense feels a little bit less important this year than it did last year. I feel like defense was super important, especially up the middle last season. And I don't feel like it's quite as important this year as it was last year. So keep that in mind when you're trying to decide if you want a guy like Tyler Freeman. Because he is not great defensively at shortstop, but he's not terrible either. And you're going to get really, really, really solid offense out of him, out of a position that maybe that kind of mediocre defense with really awesome offense sets him apart from some of the other guys on the list. I don't know that he's my number 1 choice right now because I really do like that other Future Legend card, that Nick Allen card that we're going to see higher up the list, I'm assuming. But I think this card is playable at short, and I think if you get a platoon going with maybe another card, this card is just going to mash against lefties. So that's my thoughts there. Number 6 is Mondesi. Grades out 7th defensively. He's up a little bit higher on the list. Again, defensively, and that's something where throwing the defensive rankings back in there the last couple weeks, I'm still trying to figure out how much I want to weight defense at, especially at kind of these really important defensive positions, because you look at this, like you look at the difference between Mondesi, who you're getting a little bit more range, a little bit more arm, and a pretty good shortstop rating out of, versus Freeman, and you're talking 40 points of weighted on base average, you're talking 40 points of batting average, and 70 points of on base percentage difference here. Is that offense going to get you going? Maybe. Who knows? And that's just, I mean, I'm still working on how important is defense this year, and in either way, I don't love this Mondesi card. This is a super small sample size of 383. I actually think he's going to perform below these levels going forward. Maybe not the slugging. Maybe he will continue to be a solid slugging / base running. He's gaining a little bit of offense because he can run. and he plays a little bit of defense at shortstop. I think that the on-base percentage is atrocious. It's abysmal, a 280 on-base percentage, but he hits home runs as a shortstop and he runs, which provides a little bit of value, but I just think that batting average and that on-base percentage is just too low for me. Number 5, Dick Grote, who's not going to give you any power. Grades out 19th defensively, but is dropping a 316 on-base batting average, 359 on-base percentage, 333 weighted on-base average. So again, the defense is a tick below those top tier, like elite defensive shortstops, but he provides pretty solid offense too. I like this card a lot. I really, really like this card. You don't like this card, Meme Lord? Is it because you dislike the Pirates, or if this could be a utility card, it would be stellar. But he only plays shortstop, sadly. But a 94 contact, 104 avoid Ks. But he's gonna eat up your what is this? Your base paths. He's going to be slow on the base paths. He's going to play mediocre defense at shortstop. I like it. It might be a card I try out at some point. I'm not ready to go that route yet. But he's going to be a really good offensive card as far as shortstops are concerned. He comes in at number 5. He can play basketball as well. Interesting. Defense and bat are bad. The defense is pretty bad. And you think his bat's not good? Is it because you're not getting home runs? I don't think his bat's atrocious, but I do think that the fact that the speed is so low, I think that the on-base percentage does become a little bit empty. I think that it's going to be a very singles-driven on-base percentage, and it's kind of empty because he can't run too. So I don't hate it as much as Out of the Park Meme Lord does, but I don't love it either. Number 4, Build a Legend, Tony Fernandez. Grades out 6th defensively among shortstops, which is probably a little bit high based off of the range. I think he gets a big boost because of that insane error rating defensively at shortstop. Offensively, grading out 4th. All-time offensively, grading out around not great. 308 weighted on base average, 309 this week, which is pretty far below league average. 268 batting average is just a tick below league average. On-base percentage, pretty low. Slugging, pretty low as well. And then OPS, a little bit low. Some home runs thrown in there, so a little bit of power. Good base running as well. It's kind of a well-rounded card that doesn't do anything well enough to make me say he's better than too many other people. And again, with 32 all-time qualifiers, you can see there's a lot of guys in this that didn't play enough over the last 200 or so tournaments that are performing better than him too. But he comes in at number 4. You got him yesterday in a drop. Nice. Only Build a Legend on the list at shortstop. So far, yeah. Number 3, Andrelton Simmons, number 1 defensive catcher. Yeah. Number 1 silver defensive catcher. 860 plate appearances, though. His offense is about as bad as you're going to see out of anybody else in this list. 257 batting average, 302 on base percentage, 344 slugging, just a 288 weighted on base average. So if you're going straight defense at shortstop, then perhaps you want to run Andrelton Simmons out there. But you're not going to get a lot of offense out of him. His bat is just terrible. Number 2, Jose Iglesias, who's your number 3 defensive shortstop. So he gets to boost up the list just a little bit. Offensively, ranks 9th. All-time, 304 weighted on base average. You're looking at numbers slightly better than Simmons. I actually like this card a little bit better than I like the Simmons card. This bat is really, 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 really bad. But I don't love it a ton better. They're really, really similar, and Simmons is going to give you much better defense at shortstop than Iglesias. So if you're going to pick between the two, I'd probably pick Simmons, just because, well, maybe even not, because the error is really solid for Iglesias. That's a tough choice. If you're going to pick between the two live cards, between Simmons and Iglesias, they're both pretty bad offensively. 304, 288. I think I lean Iglesias now that I look at it a little bit more. If I'm going to pick between the two of those, but I really don't think I pick either one of them. I think they're just higher on the list because they're very good defensively. And again, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, I go Iglesias. I think I lean Iglesias. Number 1. Yeah, it better have been. Nick Allen ranks number 2 defensively. Also putting up okay offensive numbers as well. Over a huge sample size. I actually think Iglesias' weighted on base average is going to drop over time. That was like a 450 plate appearance sample size. I love this card. I adore this card. I think it's pretty awesome. I don't think he's a clear-cut number 1. I think that you can probably get a little bit more defense out of some cards that are out there. You can probably get a little bit more offense out of some of the cards that are out there, but I think this is probably one of the better combinations of offense and defense here at shortstop in silver. And I like this card a lot. It's just a 250 average, which is pretty low, but the on-base percentage at 327 is right around league average. The weighted on-base average is kind of okay. You'll get some base running out of him as well. All time, you're seeing a 314 weighted on-base average, so a 702 OPS all time, which is slightly below league average, a 260 average, a 336 on base percentage. So, and then 3+ WAR per 600 is pretty solid too. See, who is number 1? Iglesias is actually putting up number 1 in WAR, and Simmons at number 2. But again, that is all defensive WAR. Could I check out Jazz? Yeah, let's see if we can find him. I think he might have been not too far off the list. Ahmed is number 4 defensively. This is your live Nick Ahmed, but very bad offensively, even worse than Andrelton Simmons right now. Cintron at number 12. I mean, bad defensively at shortstop, but again, maybe a left-hand platoon there. Tejada at 13. Kennedy came in at 14 here at shortstop. Almost makes the top 10 defensively among shortstops. I know we've seen him a couple times on other lists. Offensively, right around 13. This just looks like a pretty well-rounded card. It's one of those cards that nothing screams awesome at you, but nothing screams, yeah, this is a huge hole. There's not a lot of holes in this card. I do like him better at second base than shortstop, though. That's at 14. And the Build-A-Legend Hanley is so bad defensively that he's unplayable at shortstop. And his offense doesn't look great either among shortstops right now. That's really bad. Those are really bad numbers for the Build-A-Legend Hanley Ramirez over a 357 plate appearance sample size. Let's see what we can find on Jazz. Let's see, because he should have been here somewhere. Weird. It's weird that he wasn't anywhere. Let's go find him. I think what happened is he's got a lot of play early on, and then people started moving to the other 2 cards. So let's find, he should be here somewhere. Allen, Cintron, Freeman, Jazz. So what do we got? I've got a 249 batting average for him, 334 on base percentage, which is just a tick below Nick Allen. The 249 average is 10 points below, 407 slugging. So you're getting a little bit more power out of him. 742 OPS for him. I just lost him. 330 weighted on base average. So a little bit better offensively, but defensively he is grading out 20th defensively. So another step down defensively. They're a little bit too pricey right now for the Negro League cards right now. No Rollins. Let's find Rollins. I don't have enough of a sample size on Rollins yet. Let me see if I've got him on the main list anywhere. Spelt it wrong. That was like a P and like 9 L's. Rollins, I only got 68 plate appearances on so far. So I just haven't been in tournaments with people with Rollins. The super small sample size doesn't look great. 213 batting average, 294 on base percentage, 295 slugging doesn't look great for Jimmy Rollins, but again, 68 plate appearances there. So super small sample size. Let's see if we can find him. Let's take a look at his card real quick. And then I'm going to take a break after seeing if we can find Rollins, and then we'll do the outfielders, the hitters, and the pitchers when we come back. And then we're going to open a few packs. Holy smokes, I have to speed this up. These infielders, they take forever. So here's your 81. That's the gold. Let's see if we can find the silver. That's the bronze, silver. I don't think he plays at shortstop. Sadly, I just don't think. I think this is probably part of the reason that people aren't playing him too. Is that even with my feelings that defense is not as important this year as last year, I still think shortstop defense, a 65 range in silver is pretty bad. That's pretty low. So I think that's probably why he's not getting too much play. I'm going to take a really quick break and then come back in just a minute. This is going to be super quick. I'm just going to grab a soda, and I need to push through because we've already been here for 2 hours and I got to get going. So see you in just a second. Oh, you're super low now that I'm standing up. That's better. It was right in my face. All right, let's get back to the list. Let's burn through these outfielders and pitchers and open some packs. And I might have good news for you guys today, too. Let's see. Left fielders first. Judd Wilson comes in at number 10. That's a little better. Let's see. Defensively, 57. He ranks 8th defensively among left fielders. There's not a ton of defense in left field. He also ranks top 10 offensively right now, over a 784 plate appearance sample size, 327 weighted on base average, 278 batting average, 433 slugging for Judd Wilson, and very, very good against righties. We've seen him a couple times already today. Number 9 is Coco Crisp. 75 snapshot. Coco Crisp coming in at number 9, grading out 9th offensively and 6th defensively in left field. Solid looking card here. This Coco Crisp. This is from his 2005 Cleveland season. Not huge splits, a little bit of pretty big split on avoid Ks versus righties, even though he's a switch hitter. 80 range, 21 arm. Not going to play right field, probably not going to play center field, but capable defensive left fielder. And Coco Crisp puts up a pretty good bat. 281 batting average, 328 on base percentage with 20 plus steals per 600. Interesting bat. He is great with milk. Number 8 is Kurt Blefari, 1965 Baltimore Orioles rookie sensation. Number 3 offensively, number bad defensively, 31st out of 36. Solid on base percentage at 376, 245 average, 349 weighted on base average. All-time ranks 9th, top 10 out of 36 offensively all-time in left field. 20 plus home runs per 600 plate appearances. You're going to see a pretty low batting average, especially if you're trying to play him every day. You might see a batting average a little bit better than that if you can platoon him against right-handed pitching. But he plays bad left field defense as well. Number 7 is 2017 snapshot Aaron Hicks. Grades out 12th defensively in left field. A little bit of splits, but not much. You got 10 points of For his righties, 5 points of avoid K. Small sample size, 667 this week. Was a 336 weighted on base average, 750 OPS, 352 on base percentage, all pretty high. Batting average a little bit lower at 253 and a 398 slugging. Which one, Teddy? Welcome to the stream, Teddy. I haven't noticed you in there yet today. So if you've been in there off and on, then I apologize. And so this is not huge splits here for Hicks either. He's a guy who may be able to play every day for you, but all time, a 333 weighted on base average, grades 23rd among left fielders out of 36 all time. Again, we had 18 qualifiers over this period. Number 6 is your Build-A-Legend, Pete Rose. Better defensively in left field than he is at second base, and grades out 4th offensively among left fielders. I did get a haircut. Welcome. That's Teddy is a boss. I agree. Debating upgrading second base or center field. Nice. And yeah, I lost a fight with a lawnmower. Is it that bad? Is the haircut that bad? That we have to make jokes about lawnmowers. 341 weighted on base average, 290 average, 348 on base percentage, 426 slugging for Rose. Capable defender in left field as well. He comes in at number 6. Capable, mediocre defender in left field. Rosa comes in at number 5. I'm tired of seeing this card today already. 340 weighted on base average. He's 7th offensively among left fielders. Bad batting average. 355 on base percentage though. 406 slugging. 762 OPS for him as well. And almost 20 home runs per 600 plate appearances. I'm just tired of seeing this card. Utility guy, perhaps, maybe. The numbers look better than I expect the ratings to have him at. So that's like the 3rd time we've seen him today. Number 4, Hugh Duffy at number 4. What do we have here? 13th defensively is okay, mediocre. Okay in left field. Left field defense is less important than some other positions. 281 batting average, 343 on base percentage. Very, very good base runner as well. 756 OPS and a 334 weighted on base average. They put him 6th offensively. All time, the numbers don't look quite that good, but they don't look terrible either. 329 weighted on base average, right around league average with some base stealing to go along with it, and a 276 batting average. I am not in love with any of these left fielders today. Duffy looks good, but has some warts for sure. I think. I don't know why you'd pick a fight with a lawnmower. I tried last week, and now I need a new lawnmower. Apparently, I won that one. Leroy Stanton comes in at number 3. I think if you can platoon him, you're seeing a pretty good card here. Decent range. Okay left field rating. Okay arm. Can play left field or right field. Maybe as a backup. I don't love him versus righties, but if you can platoon him versus lefties, this card might hit pretty well. Duffy's usable in center. Let's go back to him real quick. 51, 71 range. Yeah, that's not unusable in center field. So I think those offensive numbers stack up a little bit better. We'll see if he's on that list too. This card looks like it'll probably mash against left-handed pitching. The avoid Ks is a little bit low, but the 76 contact, 78 gap, 96 power with a 62 eye, I would definitely try to hide him versus lefties if I were you, and trying to play Leroy Stanton. I like him versus lefties. We're going to plug him in versus lefties. Number 2 is your Build-A-Legend Tim Raines. I just can't get my hands on this one. Maybe we'll open it today. Versus lefties, he looks great. Versus righties, he looks kind of meh. A little bit of base running is helping him out. Almost 50 steals per 600. He's an elite base runner. The range is gross. What? How? I might be putting too much emphasis on error in left field, because that range is bad, like terra bad, and yet somehow he's grading out 9th. I don't like that defensive rating for him, and I disagree with my numbers. Again, if you can hide him and have him versus lefties, then he's probably going to hit pretty good. Good base runner off the bench as well. Only plays one position, which is a little bit sad. I'm actually leaning towards Stanton right now as my left-handed side of a platoon still. I do like the gold reins, which I'm trying to get. Number 1, left fielder. 97 speed. Yeah, he really bad at reading balls off the bat, perhaps. Your number one left fielder this week always makes me nervous. Jay Payton comes in at number one. 74 range, 66 arm, 54 error, 78 left field rating to go along with really solid versus lefty splits. 299 average, 347 on base percentage, 425 slugging, 772 OPS, and a 339 weighted on base average for Jay Payton. Good base runner, not going to steal a lot, but he's going to do well on your bases. Again, you're going to want to hide him against lefties. There's so many guys here in silver that really look like they need to be platooned. And as good as he looks defensively, I really think I want to keep Leroy Stanton as the guy I want versus lefties. Who do we want versus righties, though? You missed where Doyle ended up. I haven't seen him yet. Let's go see if we can find him higher. Coco, let's see. Judd Wilson versus righties, maybe? That's very expensive. Chris Taylor, a utility guy. Taylor's a pretty good utility outfielder, but isn't great at any one thing. Brenton Doyle, future legend Brenton Doyle comes in at 12. Why? Good defense, 5th defensively, 8th in batting average, 7th in slugging. The weighted on base average is a little bit low. Grading out 14th offensively, which is some combination of average on base percentage, weighted on base average, steals, stuff like that. I like the looks of this card. Not huge splits. He's got splits versus lefties, but they're not huge. But I do think that he's probably going to struggle a bit versus righties. This isn't a terrible looking card, though. Still looking for a right-handed side of a platoon. Wally Post, I don't love that card. That's a scary looking card. Dwight Smith? Ooh, maybe. Maybe Dwight Smith. 71 contact, 73 gap. I don't know. I don't love left field. I kind of hate left field. Heathcote. There we go. No, even that, it has some warts. And he looks better in right field. Doesn't look great in left field. I don't love any of these guys. We're just gonna not play against righties. Did I list Griffey Sr. anywhere? I have not seen him. 17 is Pache, and 18 is Ken Griffey. So there you go. Oh, well, he looks like he could platoon versus righties. He had a bad week. All-time ranks 26th out of 36. This week, he was 290 weighted on base average, 240 batting average. Somebody wasn't platooning him. Whoever I got 387 plate appearances from him on wasn't platooning him. I kind of like him as a right-handed platoon in left field. I don't know. I'll think about it. I don't know what we're going to do with this team right now. Perhaps Rose. I did like Rose. Rose looked good. And if we're going to go no platoon, the problem is I got to get Pete Rose. Where'd he go? Offensively, he's 4th. Defensively, he's kind of okay. He's got some splits, but not bad. Yeah, let's go with him versus righties in left field. I do want to try out Stanton in left field. Or maybe in right field. We'll figure that out later. Let's move on to center fielders, because we gotta speed this up. Live Trent Grisham comes in at number 10. 313 weighted on base average, bad batting average, meh on base percentage. Some decent slugging, a little bit of power for Trent Grisham. Decent defense in left field, top 10 or center field out of 30 defensively, and center field offensively just outside of the top 10. You will like Stanton at the corners. Monster bat. Is that who we just did? I don't even know. I lost track of what's going on. Cliff Heathcote comes in at number 9, grades out 4th defensively in center field, and grades out 15th offensively, though, which is weird. 296 weighted on base average, 222 batting average, 299 on base percentage, and a 359 slugging for him, all right around 15. We had 19 qualifying center fielders. All-time ranks 8th. Thanks to that defense. Very good range. Center field rating's a little bit low, but I do like that 93 range in center field. That's pretty nice. Also, splits versus righties. I don't know. I'm going to plug him in at center field versus righties for now, and we'll see what else we look at here. Number 7 is Jarren Duran. We saw him at second base. Here, grades out 6th among center fielders offensively. Grades out 12th defensively out of 30 center fielders. Decent looking card. I like this card a lot. I wish it was slightly better at some things, but I think he can be a center field platoon versus righties. You'll be very curious on Ollie versus Pache. Number 7 is Hugh Duffy. Plays in center field. That's 71 range. He grades out 22nd defensively, so it's not great, but again, it's one of those things where I'm still trying to learn. Very little splits here, so 4 points of splits kind of across the board. So you can play versus lefties and versus righties. He's probably going to have a pretty good batting average. Grades out 3rd offensively among center fielders. I actually like this card. I think we're going to plug him in for now at versus lefties and righties. Mitch Webster comes in at number 6. Grades out 6th defensively. Offensively, we saw a 266 average, 329 on base percentage, 314 weighted on base average. A little bit of base running for Mitch Webster. This is your 1986 Montreal Expos snapshot. Middle of the pack in strikeouts and walks and WAR, 8th in WAR at 3. Gonna hit some doubles. Gonna get on base. Solid looking card. I don't hate it. Pretty well rounded. Big splits versus lefties though. So keep that in mind. You're going to want to platoon him versus lefties if you can. Even though he's a switch hitter, he has some pretty massive splits versus lefties. Does Mitch Webster. Where are we? He's not great. 100 plate appearances, he's at 247. I don't know who you're talking about. Jackie Bradley Jr. comes in number 2 defensively. Number 18 offensively out of 19. So let's go ahead and say that he's not good enough defensively to play offensively. Here in center field. Don't love him. Good defense still for Jackie Bradley Jr., but just need to get a little bit more offense out of my team than that. Number 4 is Jay Payton. Here he is again. 74 range in center field, plays versus lefties. Offensively, number 2. Defensively, he's a tick below some of the better defensive center fielders, but a solid 339 weighted on base average, 299 average. Everything is kind of second across the board among center fielders. He comes in at number 4. Number 3 is Lorenzo Cain, grading out 5th defensively and dropping a 273 batting average, a 330 on base percentage, and a pretty good weighted on base average of 314 as well. I say pretty good. It's a tick below league average, but from a center fielder, you can kind of live with it a little bit. He's an okay base runner, just about 12 steals per 600. Not a lot of power, but you know, there's not a ton of power here in center field, and he's pretty good defensively with an 87 range, 76 error, and an 81 center field rating. Number 2, Mickey Rivers comes in at number 2. Holy smokes, here's a guy you can platoon against lefties, but holy smokes, is he pretty bad defensively. Good arm. Man, do I wish this card had a right field rating of any sorts. 68 range is a little bit low. 48 center field rating is a little bit low. He looks like he'll mash against lefties. Number 1 offensively among guys who can play center field, but maybe as a designated hitter. 343 weighted on base average, 315 average, 332 on base percentage, 454 slugging. I want to see where he shows up on the DH list because this is a really interesting looking offensive card that I don't think I want playing center field on my team. In simulations, Mitch always gets hits against you. Nice. Crisp Webster platoon in center field. See who's number 1. Pache is number 1. Number 1 defensively. He's pretty bad offensively, though. 228 average, 277 on base percentage, 372 slugging. 650 OPS, 286 weighted on base average. I don't love him at number 1. I really don't love any of these cards. We're like in a Crisp Webster platoon. Let's go back and see who we missed here. Aaron Hicks was at 11. Ken Berry at 12. 3rd best defensive card. Really bad offensively for Ken Berry. Number 13 was Ollie. Here's your Ollie card that you were looking for. Dropping a 245 average, 331 on base percentage, 296 weighted on base average. Lots of steals, 56 plus steals per 600. Pretty small sample size on Ollie right now. Hicks is a good 4th outfielder for sure. Yeah, he doesn't look bad as a 4th outfielder. All 3 positions with pretty good range and pretty good error rating. 13, 14 is Chris Taylor. I think he's a pretty interesting utility option as well. Let's see, is he better or worse than Hicks offensively? Hicks better offensively. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of Taylor or Hicks as a utility guy. Harry Bay at 15. We got Coco at 16. Somebody liked a Coco Mitch platoon. Mitch Webster, Coco Chris platoon. BF Bombers did. It really is a mess. They're all kind of, it's all kind of pick your poison here. Dwight Smith at 17, Brenton Doyle at 18, and 19 is John Farrell. What? I mean, I'm gonna be honest. These don't look awful. That the 57-59 contact is not great, but defensively he's bad too. Those are your center fielders for this week. Let's talk about right field. I give up. Figure out who you want to use in center field, guys. Doc Miller comes in number 10 in right field. It's his only qualifying position. He grades out 9th offensively, 19th defensively, a 270 average, 437 slugging are his high marks, 8th in both of those, 12th in weighted on base average, and a pretty good base runner to go along with it. Pretty big splits versus righties, which is nice in this format right now. Number 9 is Mark DeRosa. We've seen him a bunch of times. Again, I don't hate him as a left field, right field utility guy. Maybe even a third base, left field, right field, third base, right field utility guy for DeRosa at number 9. Lance Richburg comes in at number 8. 11th defensively in right field. He's getting hurt because his arm's only a 31, which is really tough to throw out there in right field. Solid splits versus right-handed pitching. Looks like he's going to put up about a 290 average to 359 on base percentage, so decent against right-handed pitching. If you can platoon him, if you can live with a 31 arm every 4 out of every 5 days, and I don't know that I can. I don't love this card in right field because of that arm. The range and the error rating are great. If this was a left field card, I'd be all over it, but in right field, it's a little bit more concerning. Number 7 is your Build-A-Legend, Tim Salmon. Grades out 27th out of 38 defensively. Just not good defensively. Looks okay as a left-hand side of a platoon. I don't know that his splits are good enough versus righties that the avoid K increase is going to overcome the power decrease and the I decrease. I think he probably has to be platooned. You're probably trying to get just home runs and on-base percentage out of him, and they'll be good. He's going to have 20-plus home runs and be on base 350 or so, but he's not great defensively, and he's really only going to do that against lefties. He's going to strike out a ton. I don't love this card. This is not my favorite of the Build-A-Legend cards, for sure. You hope his perfect gets better than the tiers released so far. Yeah, it's kind of meh, kind of not great. We just froze for a second. So Tim Salmon, I'm really surprised to see these defensive ratings because I remember Tim Salmon as a pretty good defensive right fielder from when I was growing up. Number 6 is Alexis Rios, 2012 White Sox Special Edition. And what do we have here? We have a 283 batting average, 454 slugging, 772 OPS, and a 335 weighted on base average. 23 steals to go along with it. Dropping in 8th offensively, 21st defensively, decent range. The arm's just as good as some of the other guys we've seen on this list. Decent splits versus lefties, a little bit worse versus righties. I could see him being a solid left-hand side of a platoon in right field. And I don't think he's unplayable versus righties. So much blue. Yeah, this card looks good. Probably not very common on teams. So far, Hope is Perfect gets better. Rios at number 6. The guy is beyond number 1. What are we seeing? So defensively, he gets hurt a little bit because of his defense. His range is good, mostly the arm in right field. Good batting average. The numbers look good. I mean, he's grading out 8th offensively right now. It's a pretty small sample size, so keep that in mind. Does have speed, does look well-rounded. I really like this card. I think that as we get more of a sample size, these numbers are going to look better amongst the rest of your right fielders. I think this is a pretty solid-looking card, the Alexis Rios. Number 5. Yeah, he looks good. I mean, I do. I like it a lot. I don't put subjectivity into these. It goes by numbers, and so that's kind of where he came up according to the numbers. Number 5 is Ducky Holmes, dropping a 268 average, 329 on base percentage. Offensively, he got too much steals. He's very, very good base stealer and gained a lot because of that. I don't really agree with that. He does have strong splits versus righties, which is going to be the majority of the pitchers he faced, with pretty good range and an okay right field rating and a decent arm as well. For Holmes, the lower walks are not great, and so it's a little bit better than the Rios. Yeah, who said that? And Max Lou says the no walks is not good. Yeah, the on base percentage for Rios is going to continue to be a little bit lower, but it's a pretty solid looking bat to me. Holmes looks good versus righties and can run it as well and plays okay defense. Not a lot of good defense here in right field that has bats as well. Leroy Stanton here at number 4. We plugged him in at left field. Do we like him at right field? He's 15th among right fielders defensively. Weighted on base average is 3rd. OPS slugging 3rd. Batting average on base percentage is 7th. Grading out 3rd offensively overall. Some home runs. Solid power. Left-hand side of a platoon. I would try to keep him to the left-hand side of a platoon if you're going to use him. If you can. I like the car. It looks good versus lefties. And looks okay defensively in right field too. Better arm than somebody else. You've been liking Baines in right at the moment. Corey Snyder comes in at number 3. Again, try to keep him to the left-hand side of a platoon. He looks very, very good versus lefties to me. Although the avoid Ks with the contact, he's going to hit home runs. He's going to have a really solid slugging percentage against lefties. I think he's going to really struggle against righties over time. This is a small sample size of 598. And then a 343 weighted on base average over that time with a 463 slugging. Between 25 and 30 home runs is what you're going to see out of him if you can platoon him against lefties. And pretty okay defense. He's grading out 5th defensively in right field. Really solid arm. The range is a little bit lower, so you're going to want a good center fielder out there. But the 85 arm, 66 right field rating, and a pretty solid 59 error. He's a good defensive card that hits with some pop against left-handed pitching. I don't hate this card. I think he's good as the left-hand side of a platoon. Stanton offense, Snyder offense, better than Snyder offense. Snyder's defense is better than Stanton. Number 2 is Ben Taylor versus righties. God, this card looks so good versus right-handed pitching. Defensively, he's definitely that lower tier of defense. 52 range, 57 arm, 51 error. There are worse defensive right fielders out there, but not too many. But man, is this card looking like a good hitter. Perhaps a designated hitter type card. I'm really interested in seeing more of this card going forward. This is a pretty big sample size too. 314 average, 376 on base percentage, 836 OPS, and a 367 weighted on base average. Is that enough to overcome a little bit of defensive deficiency in right field? I like him a little bit better at first base, but you're going to get a little bit more power out of first base too. It's kind of up to you where you want to play him. For Ben Taylor, this is a pretty stellar card. Number 1, come on, Jeff McNeil. Why are you killing me so much? Jeff McNeil, again, he's going to rake against righties. I like him better somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe if you can live with a 48 arm in right field, okay, perhaps. Let's find the other guys and see. Baines comes in at 11. But this looks like a card that should mash against righties. I think people are trying to use him every day, and he doesn't look like he's going to be as good versus lefties. He doesn't have much speed, and defensively, he is 33rd out of 38. Which is okay because it's right field. I really think this is going to be a solid card against right-handed pitching. It's maybe platoon him versus righties if you can. I think he'll hit versus lefties as well, but I think he's going to be way better versus righties. And again, we're seeing 80% almost right-handed pitching here in the format, so I don't necessarily think you have to platoon him, but I think he's probably going to struggle a little bit versus left-handed pitching. Let's see. We have Jarren Duran at 12, Lorenzo Cain, Hicks at 14, Heathcote at 15, number 1 defensive right fielder in the format. Pretty bad offensively compared to some of the other right fielders. Chris Taylor at 16, Mitch Webster 17, Brenton Doyle at 18, Wally Post 19, Dwight Smith at 20, Pache 21, and Bill Robinson 22. Pache is actually your number 2 defensive right fielder. Pretty bad offensively for Pache. 22nd out of 22 players. Hurley McNair, I have not seen. Let's see if we can find him. Batting. Oh, I've added so many tabs. I have to scroll for everything now. McNair, I only have 110 plate appearances on. 204 batting average, 291 on base percentage, 306 slugging, 273 weighted on base average. Don't have much on him yet. Super small sample size, so not even enough to go on yet. Let's check designated hitters real quick. 25. Hack Miller was 25. Didn't show up on any of our other lists. 25, though. Here. 23rd and weighted on base average. Number 24 was DeRosa. 23 was Doc Miller. 22, Vic Sire. These are all hitters, not just guys who don't qualify at a position anymore. So we're just doing top 25. We're going to breeze through them really fast. Number 20 is Jay Payton. 19 is Pete Rose, Build-A-Legend. 18 is Alexis Rios. Man, I would like to get my hands on this one. 17 is Ryan Sandberg, Build-A-Legend. 16 is Harold Baines. 15 is Josh DeVore. 14 is Corey Snyder. 13 is Tim Salmon. Kurt Blefari, number 12. Ducky Holmes, number 11. Number 10 is Tim Raines, Build-A-Legend. Number 9 is Whitey Lachman. 8 is Mickey Rivers. Sorry to go back to center field. Was Jelly Gardner on the list? He was not. We'll look him up in just a second. Leroy Stanton at number 7. Boy, do I like this card versus lefties. Number 6 is Goldschmidt's Build-A-Legend card. Also like this card versus lefties. Les Fleming at number 5. Hal Chase at number 4 can play against lefties or righties. Number 3 was Dave Revering. Number 2 is Jake Daubert. And number 1, Ben Taylor at number 1. I love this card. Utility infielders. We had only 8 dudes who play at least 2 or more with a 40 or more rating. Kennedy was number 8. 7 is Fletcher. No surprise there. 6 is John Beckwith. 5 is Benji Gill. 4 is Miguel Sano. 3 was Judd Wilson. 2 was Alex Cintron. I do like him versus lefties, though. And number 1 was Harry Heilman with his first base and second base ratings in the infield. I went 2 or more this time, greater than 40, rating it at a given position. And your outfield utility players, yeah, I don't think Cintron's really a utility infielder. It's just guys who have multiple 40-plus ratings. We had 18 outfielders. Kane was 10. Taylor was 9. Jarren Duran was 8. Crisp. And these are rated just by bat. These do not take defense into account. Dylan Carlson at 6. Aaron Hicks at number 5. I do like Hicks as a utility outfielder. Number 4 is DeRosa, left field and right field. Hugh Duffy at number 3. Peyton at number 2. And number 1 is Leroy Stanton, playing left field and right field. And so, yeah, so those are just guys who have 40-plus ratings at a given position. Let's go through starting pitchers really quickly. Then we're going to open some packs. What time is it? 1:21. That power there is ridiculous. I don't know how happy I am with this pitcher list. I went through it briefly. I don't love it. They are rated off of the last 200 or so tournaments. The cutoff was, I did pull the cutoff down to 100 innings pitched, so we may see some smaller sample sizes here. And so we'll see. We'll see what we like and we'll see what we don't. We had 39 pitchers qualify with 100 innings pitched over the last 200 or so tournaments. The ones that I've been able to get into, I was able to get into like 25, 30 of the last 200 tournaments. So that's kind of where we're at here. Kevin Gross came in at number 15, 365 earned run average, but a 418 FIP. So some pretty good defense behind him, it looks like. 12th in home run suppression. 28th in strikeouts, 32nd in walks. I'm not in love with this card. The home run suppression is good, especially against righties. You're going to probably want good defense behind him. He's not going to strike too many guys out. He's going to have a little bit of an issue with walks as well, I think. Kevin Gross at 15. Number 14 is your Build-A-Legend, Mike Mussina. Knuckle curve. Sorry. All-time ranks 37th out of 77, but over 813 innings pitched. Only a 58% start percentage for him. So 15th in earned run average, 17th in FIP, top 10 in WHIP over the last period. 18th in strikeouts, 28th in home runs. He will let up some home runs. The movement's a little bit low for the format. The walks are almost top 10, not quite at 2.42. Mussina comes in at 14th. At 13 is live Max Fried. Got 200 innings pitched yesterday. Just yesterday. Top 10 in earned run average, 414 FIP. Which is good enough for 17th all-time out of 77. WHIP is 1.448, which is top 30, which is not great. It's a little bit low. The WHIP's a little bit high. The movement's pretty good. The strikeouts are pretty good. 17th in strikeouts, 19th in home runs, 27th in walks. That ERA in that. That ERA is pretty solidly in the top 10. Not sold on it. I think that he's probably closer to about this in earned run average, which is not going to put him nearly at high. You forgot Freed went down to silver. Yeah, he went down to a 79. Number 12 is your Build-A-Legend Charles Nagy. Very good movement, pretty good control. So 13th in home run suppression, 13th in FIP, 16th in earned run average, 22nd in WHIP over the last 200 tournaments or so. All-time ranks 18th with a 399 FIP and a 4 earned run average, both of those at about 22 all-time. Number 11 is your snapshot from 1971, Steve Blass. 404 FIP, 375 earned run average over his last 384 innings pitched. All time, he's got 935 innings at a 351 earned run average and a 384 FIP, which ranks him 4th among all starting pitchers all time here in silver. 351 earned run average and a 384 FIP. Those are pretty solid numbers. Number 10 is Build-A-Legend Tim Hudson. Man, I got to tell you, I'm not in love with the gold Build-A-Legend Tim Hudson right now. 295 innings pitched, 381 FIP, 403 earned run average for him. 11th in home run suppression. Good home run suppression for the silver card. The strikeouts are going to be super duper low. The walks will be pretty good, so his FIP is okay. Below his FIP by about 0.2 of a run. 19th in earned run average. All-time ranked 16th. 394 earned run average and a FIP of 4. I don't love any of the gold Build-A-Legends that you have, and you have 9 of them. I threw Hudson onto the gold team, and I'm losing tournaments because of him. It's been pretty frustrating because the numbers I have for him look good. Number 9 is Future Legend Dane Dunning. We get to see our first of the Future Legend pitcher cards here, and it's a good one. All-time ranks 12, 386 ERA all-time, 385 FIP all-time, top 10 in strikeouts. The home runs are a thing, and the walks are a little bit of a thing too. He does have better movement and much better stuff versus righties, so if the format starts trending towards left-handed hitters a little bit more, you might start seeing his numbers drop a little bit. But a 389 FIP and a 393 earned run average are both pretty solid for Dane Dunning here at number 9. Number 8, pitching ratings, they're eluding me just a little bit. We just froze again, so let's keep talking about Dane Dunning. Top 10 in strikeouts. Did we catch up yet? Come on, Excel. 12th all-time, 93% start percentage, down to 87. Tons of innings pitched for them. People love their Future Legend silver pitchers. Number 8 is Snapshot Herb Pennock. Lots of home runs. 17th in home runs, 39th out of 39 in strikeouts. He's not going to strike anybody out, but somehow an earned run average of 3.46. Number 3 in WHIP. The FIP is a little bit lower at 4.06. He's out pitching it by half a run. All time, he ranks 62nd with a 4.54 earned run average and a 4.76 FIP. I don't know. Somebody put the right team behind this guy, and somebody got the right sliders for Pennock. And I have to imagine he's being set to pitch around all the time. And yeah, that's what I've got here on this earned run average. He's got to be inducing weak contact by having a very high pitch around because he's not going to strike anybody out. And there's got to be pretty good defense behind him too, because there's going to be a lot of balls in play. He's not striking guys out. There's going to be some home run issues. I'm a little surprised to see this. All time, it's 1.29. Somebody figured out Herb Pennock sliders, or somebody faced a lot of really bad offense this week. Number 7 is Satchel Paige. Come on, who's really surprised about this? Paige has that screwball, which is going to help him with the reverse splits there. Good stuff, good movement. Kind of okay control, 29th in walks, but top 15 in strikeouts and home runs. 388 FIP, 370 earned run average over the last 1,300 innings, and 379 FIP, 371 earned run average all time for Satchel Paige. A very, very solid bronze pitcher. Guess what? Number 6 is Don Gross. These are the only 2 I remember from looking at it this morning. So the problem with Gross is that he has much lower stuff and much lower movement against right-handed pitching. So I'm a little surprised to see him performing this well here in the format. But I mean, for whatever reason, it's working. He's a 355 earned run average, a 390 FIP for him, 1346 whip for him as well, over 492 innings. Not getting used quite as much as Satchel. They're pretty readily available cards for players trying to move up from bronze to silver, and they continue to perform pretty well. 62% start percentage for Gross and a 64 for Page, so keep that in mind. You're going to want to keep their outings a little bit shorter, maybe even set them as like a follower or something like that to get the most out of them. For Gross and Satchel Page. 30 stamina is bad. It doesn't hurt as much down in bronze, but it will definitely hurt here in silver a little bit more. I think these guys, like I said, you're seeing a pretty low start percentage for them. A lot of people using them out of the pen where they can be very effective. I think Gross is probably seeing some use as a specialist out of the pen specifically. You can see with Page, his splits aren't nearly as pronounced versus lefties and versus righties. With Gross, it's a pretty pronounced split, and I have a feeling that a lot of his use is as a specialist out of the pen. So I think that if you're trying to use him as a starting pitcher, you're probably not going to see numbers quite as good as we're seeing here. I think they'll probably drop down a little bit. Another perfect live. You got a Giolito. Nice. Did he stay perfect? I'm a little surprised that he stayed perfect. Number 5 is Cole Henry, future legend. This is your number 1 most used card. You can stretch them out to 100 pitchers and they still do pretty well. Yeah, they do okay. You don't... what did you get, J-Pack? Your Page has a 9 ERA and bronze best of 7. Oh, thanks. No, camera's not high enough. Oh, man, that perfect Brooks is stellar. Congratulations on that Brooks Robinson, man. That is a fantastic card. One I was looking at yesterday when I was thinking about building the team. That is crazy. Is that off of a stream pack? 380 FIP, 380 earned run average for Cole Henry. All-time ranked 7th. This time it was 377 and a 385. Home runs will be a bit of an issue, but he's top 10 in strikeouts, top 5 in walks, and top 5 in whip as well. This is a pretty stellar future legend card. Cole Henry at number 5. Live Zach Wheeler in his 300 innings pitched over the last 24 hours got him up here at number 4, 359 FIP and a 362 earned run average. Top 10 in whip, top 10 in walk suppression, almost top 10 in strikeouts, top 20 in home run suppression as well. Looking pretty good. Zach Wheeler ranks number 3 all time based off of these numbers with a 96% start percentage. This is a pretty solid looking live card, this Zach Wheeler. Yeah, keep him. Keep that Brooks Robinson. He is awesome. I would not sell that. I sold Strunk because he was underperforming. I didn't love it, and I wanted to do things with the tournament teams. But if I happen to pull a Brooks Robinson, that card's not going anywhere. 3 perfects in 5 packs. Congratulations. That is crazy. Zach Wheeler at number 4. Number 3 is John Eriks. One-hit wonder John Eriks with just 168 innings pitched over this period, dropped to 378 FIP and a 315 earned run average. Very, very good at home run suppression, top 5. The 315 earned run average is good for 3rd. The 378 FIP is good for 5th. Ranked 6th all time. Outpitching his FIP by almost 0.7 of a point all time. A 4 FIP with a 334 earned run average. Walks are a little bit of an issue. It's the home run suppression is for real with John Eriks. You're not going to have an issue with home runs. Strikeouts are kind of middle of the pack, kind of okay, but not great for Eriks. Number 2 is live Jonathan Loziga. Only 103 innings pitched, small sample size alert, 61% start percentage, relief pitcher alert as well, a 37 stamina for Loziga. Has people starting him here in silver somehow. He is listed as a relief pitcher, but a 61% start percentage. 2 people probably used him. I probably ran into the same 2 people. A 339 FIP, a 261 earned run average for him over that time period. Top 5 in home run suppression. Number 2 in whip over his last 100 innings pitched. But again, very small sample size on Loziga. Let's see like a 101 here. 101 innings. The smallest possible sample size we could get on our number 1 starting pitcher. I hate this list. Patrick Corbin and his 104 innings pitched. 294 earned run average and a 305 FIP yesterday for Patrick Corbin. Yeah, small sample size. This is not going to stay at 0.35. He lets up 1 or 2 home runs and that goes way up. But a 294 earned run average, a 305 FIP, number 1 in whip. Like, I mean, what do you want me to do, guys? What do you want me to do? I don't love any of these guys in the top 3 at all. Lozaga, Eric's doesn't look great. The Wheeler looks okay. I think the Wheeler looks kind of okay. But again, small sample sizes on those guys. It'll go back up the next time we do silver. I like Henry. I do like the Cole Henry card. I do like the Future Legends Gross page. Let's see who just missed the cut because of those jerks making the top 10. Charlie Gassaway at number 16. We've got Dustin May at number 17. Over 610 innings pitched yesterday. I probably needed to put it back up to 200. Oh well, it happens. Barney Wolf at number 18. Very good home run suppression on him. 19 is Frank Arellana's, and 20 is Earl Francis. Enigma confirms that Eric's is legit. Do I have enough data to set it to something like 500 to 1,000 innings pitched cutoff? Or I probably have enough to set it to 500 or 1,000. I wanted to get some of the live guys on because I reset all of the live stuff yesterday, but I did not expect them to pitch that well. It'll be back up to like 300 or something for next time. And I'm still not sold on what I'm going to do for the live cards yet. So I haven't figured that out at all. And there was hot sauce on that French fry. So, yeah. Ready? Relief pitchers? Let's burn through them. Yeah, 150 innings pitch minimum. So that was, I think probably 150 it might be the sweet spot. And I think that it's same cutoff for the relief pitchers here was 100 innings. So we might see some smaller sample sizes here as well today. David Hale at 15. This is 2019 snapshot. Very good movement. Number 2 in home run suppression. Number 1 in walk suppression for him. Over 120 innings pitched. 343 FIP, 471 earned run average for David Hale. Joe Nathan at number 14. Silver, Build-A-Legend. 353 earned run average, 365 FIP. All time we're seeing a 345 and a 367 from him. Over 600 innings pitched for Joe Nathan. Number 13 is Adam Wainwright. Also a Build-A-Legend. 358 FIP, 354 earned run average. Just 112 innings pitched, the most recent reporting period. However, all time he's listed as a starter, so you don't see rankings here, but a 456 earned run average and a 399 FIP. With a 64% start percentage. It definitely looks like he's benefiting, even though there's no stuff boost anymore. It definitely looks like Wainwright is benefiting from pitching in a relief role so far. Again, kind of a small sample size here. 12 is Bill Daly, number 1 at home run suppression among relief pitchers. Top 10 in earned run average at 3.26, 363 FIP. Puts him right at number 12. Walks at 17th. Strikeouts at 6.51. Ranks number 12 all time as well. With a earned run average of 3 and a FIP of 3.71. Number 11 is live Will Harris. And his, are you serious, Will Harris? 100 innings pitched yesterday. 3.5 FIP, 3.42. Earned run average. Good home run suppression at 0.45. Top 6 out of 24. All time ranks number 16 with a 350 and a 342, which are just from the last day. Number 10. Hello, Wayne Twitchell. Continues to be a solid card here in silver. 326 earned run average of 360 FIP this week. All time ranks number 11 with a 319, 356. Top 7, top 10, pretty clearly top 10 in whip. Just outside the top 10 in home runs and walks. Top 20 in both of those categories all time. And home run suppression, strikeouts, 35th in walks out of 46. Walks might be a little bit of an issue for him, but his movement's good enough that he suppresses the home runs and strikes guys out and is a pretty solid relief pitcher, even here in silver. He really is he's like the bronze relief pitcher card that you need to have. Jeremy Ficach, old friend Jeremy Ficach. He was a mainstay on last year's list, and he's been on both silver relief pitcher lists this season as well. 343 FIP has him top 5 in whip so far this year. Top 2 in walks. Ficach looks like a pretty solid addition to your team and your bullpen. Thanks to a drop today, you got the perfect Barry Larkin. Nice. But now you can fund your free-to-play team for a while, so you should give me some thanks for that. That's, man, awesome. I love hearing about all you guys getting awesome cards from the drops. So it's fun. It makes me think that, well, you know, I've had some pretty good luck the last few days too. Ricky Batalico comes in at number 8. Number 2 in earned run average. Ranks number 19 all-time, though. His FIP at 395 all-time. Earned run average at 307 all-time. He is number 1 at strikeouts with a 126 overall stuff. And a very good fastball-curveball combination. Again, a little bit of a lower sample size here on Batalico. And walks are going to be a serious issue for him. So if he starts having trouble with home runs, you might be in trouble with Batalico. So these are the cards that I get a little bit stumped with. Like, so the high control guys, I'm like, yeah, we're going to have him pitch around more often. We want him throwing at the corners. The super high movement guys, I'm like, yeah. With the lower control, I'm like, we don't really want him to pitch around as much. We want him in the zone. It's the high stuff, lower movement, lower control guys that I get a little bit stumped with on the strategies and figuring out how I want them set. And so Batalico is not a guy I think I would put on my team at the moment. Guardado comes in at number 7. This is a left-handed specialist. 269 earned run average, 379 FIP. Number 1 in WHIP among relief pitchers this week. All-time 276, 380 FIP all-time. Number 5 in WHIP all-time. Ranks number 9 all-time. Number 6. Packs are hot today. You're a collector, though. You save every card but dupes. Yeah, I try to do that, but sometimes you need to fund the team. Your drops were an actual butt. Appreciate the content here. I appreciate you guys. It wouldn't be fun without you guys. It was hard to part with, but for a free... Yeah, no, the first perfect, the first historical perfect on a free-to-play team, it's hard to not sell it. Unless it was like a Pedro, I probably would have done the same thing. Kevin Rogers comes in at number 6. 312 ERA, 346 FIP for him. 12th in WHIP. Number 4 in home run suppression. Almost top 10 in walks, almost top 10 in strikeouts. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Just about top 10 in every single category. The walks look a little concerning all time. The whip is a little bit lower all time. He pitched very well over this week, but doesn't look that bad all time. Top 10 all time as well for Kevin Rogers. Number 5 is Paul Kilgus, 1993 snapshot. Not quite a specialist. He's a lefty. 288 earned run average, 358 FIP, and 1286 whip over the last 300 innings pitched for him. All-time ranks number 6 with a 351 FIP and a 304 earned run average. You sold a Pedro last year. I would not be able to sell a Pedro. I wouldn't be able to get myself to do it. You got a Dazzy Vance in the rookie league and he paid for himself. Absolutely. Yeah, I pulled the Huey Jennings last year was the one that funded my whole team. So I pulled him 4 days into Perfect Team 21. I was pretty happy about that. Didn't even know who he was at the time. Pulled him, sold him, and sold him for like $450 and got a whole bunch of good stuff. Ended up with a Nap out of selling him, and Nap Lajoie out of selling him. Kilgus at 5. We froze again. You think you've sold every single historical perfect you've pulled this year? Had mad regrets not selling Kershaw last year when he was going for 200 to 300. The pitchers are always a little tough. They're such a mixed bag. I've only pulled one historical perfect. It was the Murray so far this year. I did get the win from the Iron Warriors, but those are the only 2 that I've had so far this year. Kilgus at 5. Let's go to 4. Tom Williamson at 4. Good stuff, good movement, lower control. Walks are not great, but he's top 10, almost top 5 in every other category. This week, all time though, ranks number 15 with a 330 earned run average. Small sample size this week. I would set, like this guy, I would set to never ever pitch around. You want him working in the zone. You want him not walking people and inducing weak contact. I would hopefully have a good defense behind him, however. Number 3, Scott Ellerton. Very good stuff. Good movement. Okay control. So I feel like he's like Williamson, only better is what I'm seeing here. 7th in earned run average, 3rd in FIP, 4th in whip. Ellerton looks phenomenal. 1.213 whip, 3.2 FIP, 291 earned run average all time for Scott Ellerton. He looks really good. That's a really good looking 70 card. You've pulled 3, but 2 were Silver King. Nice. Number 2 is Barney Schultz. High stuff, okay movement, control. All-time ranks 22nd. Had a really solid 236 innings pitched, which tells me that the rest of his time was pretty bad. 376 FIP all-time and barely twice the sample size and a 365 earned run average. So not sold on him, but he was top 10 in every category over his last 236 innings. As maybe somebody figured out good. See, like I don't know what I do with his strategies. Probably not pitch around much. I might just leave it in the middle, but I really don't know. And then number 1, Jaba's number 1 again. I just 264 earned run average, 308 FIP. He's part of a bunch of collections now too, so he is not cheap. I finally got one on the main team yesterday to start plugging him in. He's not even on the team that I'm running in silver tournaments right now. All-time number 2 in earned run average, number 1 in FIP, with a 266 and a 306, top 10 in whip, number 2 in strikeouts, top 10 in home runs. Will walk some guys, but everything else is pretty solid on this Jaba Chamberlain card. Those are your pitchers. Those are all of the teams. You just pulled a pie trainer, 96 historical, outstanding. Closer or setup, that's up to you. However you want to run your team. I would use Jaba as a setup / stopper probably on my team. I tend to, the high strikeout guys, I tend to use as my stoppers. We're going to grab 50 packs here. So that's going to leave us with about 63. I'm going to try something. So I do not have the... So I don't get to do the same thing that Dish gets to do. I don't get to give away as many perfect points as he does. But I have a thing. I can't run it through the chat, but let me do this. Let me grab a link to this. So I built a quick Google Docs. We're going to try this. I'm not making any promises. I'm going to try to give away 3 10,000 perfect point awards after we do the packs today. It'll be 63 packs. I'm going to put a link in here. So here's the deal. I'm trusting you guys to put yourselves in there once. I will go through and throw it into a spreadsheet and delete the duplicates if anybody puts stuff in there. I trust you guys, though. I believe you're going to do the right thing. And I'm going to randomize it, throw them into random, and then the top 3 will get 10,000 perfect point rewards. So the link is blocked. What does that mean? Like, nobody can get on it? Is it working for anybody? This is my first attempt at this, so I don't know what that means. Link blocked. Asked in the chat. Oh no, because it's me and I'm not a thing. Let me... Dish, are you still here? Auto modded. Yeah, I'm not a mod for the chat, so I can't even put it in there. I tried so hard. I tried. It just shows up as that. A mod needs to post it, and I don't have a mod in here today, unless Dish is still here. Sad. I tried, guys. I tried. Maybe Dish will message me. Let me shoot it to him and see if he'll post it in chat. I'll see if he's around. We'll start the packs off with a Billy Johnson. We'll see. We'll see. I messaged Dish on the Discord, and we'll see if he posts that in chat. So we'll start with a Billy Johnson here, number 1. Solid gold start. Oh yeah, I can drop the borders too. Good call. We'll get a gold in the second pack too. This is not pre-recorded, folks. We'll take a Yu Darvish as well. Let's go and close these out. And there we go. No, I'm good. Thank you. I'm just about done. Oh, worst pack ever. Tom Murphy. Harley, boss. We've only got 60 packs left. Turnbull, George Gill. Trevor Hildenberger. Daniel Johnson, Jorge Ona. Ruby. This card plays a little bit in Bronze Cap. He gets some play in Bronze Cap as both a starter and a reliever over there. We got 58 left. I have not seen Mike Sims, Jonah Heim, Dylan Maples. You had 315 packs today. Let's see, Bob Davis, Carlos Martinez, Justin Upton there in that one. Nothing great to talk about. There's a Danny Duffy. I didn't see him on the list today. And then a bunch of not usable stuff. I thought Rubio was going to be the next Pedro Martinez. I really did. I thought he was going to be phenomenal. It never really worked out. Here we go. Johnny Wright, 66 step, 54 movement, 67 control. I don't love that in silver, but part of the collection. So, you know, one step closer to the Negro Leagues collection. That's a solid pickup. Couple golds today. Negro League silver. I keep him. That one will get kept. Matt Adams, silver, first baseman. I haven't seen anything on him. That 34i looks atrocious, but he has defense at first base. Yeah, we keep him for the collection for sure. Let's see. Chris Flexen. That's a new live card for me. Flyerson, Matt Harvey. Is Matt Adams a collection card? Interesting. Yeah, Wright's a 10,000 point card, but we're going to hold him for the Negro Leagues collection. Yuck. Matt Moore, Danny Bautista, Charlie Culberson. He's off to a rough start this year. Miles Straw. Giancarlo Stanton. Love watching him drop. Let's drop some more. Let's hope for Stanton to get down to like a bronze before the end of this season. That would be a fun contract for the Yankees. Not a Yankees fan. Adrazamar Despan. Yay. Despagne? Spain. No clue. I tried. 71 movement. Looks like good home run suppression down in bronze with an 82 stamina. Al Niehaus. DePayne? Maybe. Maybe. Tyler Walker. Paul Florence. There's a Strom. Still a pretty solid bronze pitcher. Clevenger. Garcia. Clevenger's a very interesting cap pitcher. Adrian Beltre, build a legend. There we go. That's probably my favorite pick of the day so far. That's one that I've been wanting. I want to get Beltre on the gold team, and I think that's going to get us there. I do believe that's going to get us there. I might not have the silver collection done for Beltre yet. Terrell Wade. Richard Lovelady. Good pack luck. Yeah, the packs are good. Packs are good today. Wayne Sure. So, are any of you using this guy in bronze? And are any of you having any luck with him? Because his overall numbers in bronze look fantastic. And he is awful for me. He's been absolutely terrible for me. Paul Fittery, Jose Nunez, and that one. He's been awful. Like, his overall numbers look great. I'm getting like a 2 earned run average higher than his overall numbers on my team. It's really frustrating. Whistler. Bad Weave like Sure. Maybe Sure with extreme. Jarrett Wright. Diamond. Historical. Let's see. Only goes for 9. What do we got here? 79 stuff, 83 movement, 51 control. I gotta be honest, Jarrett Wright. I don't know what good you're gonna do to anybody. You do not look like a very good card. That one might get sold. There's a Jeff Tabaka. Aubrey Gatewood. Newt Randall, Jess Doyle. Solid historical pack there. Might play in low. He could play in low diamond. Perhaps there's a duplicate Beltre. If anybody's looking for Beltre, he is up for basically his last 10. Magnera Sierra, Louis Brinson. There's the Dishnet just posted the thing. It's not a straight call your shot. It's just enter your username, and it's going to be a raffle off at the end. Not really a call your shot, but go in there, do it, and then I'll do everything at the end. Let me know if that's working for everybody. Weimer's a decent looking card. Let's see. Starting pitcher, 91 stuff, 86 movement, 40 control, 111 stamina, perhaps low diamond. So there we go. Get into that low diamond tournament. Thank you, Dish. Much appreciated. We got 35 left. Another diamond, Edwin Diaz this time. And a Kevin Stalker Silver Historical Rookie Sensation. And a Ray Dobbins. That is a solid pack right there. Diaz will get sold. For packs. Maybe. I can't. Yeah, we had a run of diamonds here. Feels like that perfect's coming, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Where's it at? There's a Mike Fetters. Mike White. 74 stuff, 75 movement, 51 control. That doesn't look like an unplayable silver card. Also part is Tim Salmon, so we'll hold on to that one. You been playing camp? Tax Newer. Solid Unsung Heroes card. Unsung Heroes tournament on Thursday. I'm trying to put a team together for that that'll be more competitive than last week's team. Miles Straw, Louis Guillaume. Pretty good defensive shortstop. His eyes up to a 64 now. Solid. Let's see, Dozier, Rengifo. Tough pack. Tough pack there. Berrigar plays a little bit as a cap. And he's down to a 42 now. And just so you guys are aware, for those who come out to my streams on my channel, I will not be streaming tomorrow. I have an appointment I have to go to. I will be back Thursday. We're going to look at tonight's Sporers, and we're going to do bronze. I think bronze cap that day. And then Friday, we'll look at Unsung Heroes. We'll get in on those Unsung Heroes again. They have quieted down. There's a Joey Lucchesi who's been okay for the Cubs in the OHBL, my online league. Donaldson and a Bubba Trammell. 60 contact, 66 power, 67 eye, 52 defense left fielder. I didn't see him anywhere today. Curious what he looks like. In fact, let's see if I have any data on him. Sorry, I know we just want to open packs. I have 73 plate appearances, 3.29 WAR per 600, 277 average, 342 on base percentage. That is not a bad looking card in a small sample size. Almost 30 home runs. A pretty solid silver pickup right there. Keep my eye out on that one. He does look kind of good. Here's a Darvish, and that's two Darvishes, and a Gus Bell. Another unsung hero, Walter Anderson. Kyle Gibson. Perfect Scherzer. There's our 100 for the day. 20 more packs. I do believe we just earned ourselves 20 more packs, folks. 20 more packs for today. Richard Rodriguez up 4 from a 72. Ronald Guzman, Jonathan Villar. And a live diamond. And 2 Build-A-Legends. Just throwing that out there. And a couple perfect, or a couple historical golds. Sold him and Gio. Russ Morin. Keibert Ruiz. He's an interesting option. I don't think he is the best option at catcher in bronze, but I don't think he's unplayable either. I haven't seen much of Dick Bokelman. He looked like 72 stuff, 82 movement. I feel like he's a guy who could play with the right strategy settings. You got a Dwayne Below, Zach Davies, Mike Myers, 19 packs left before we go sell some stuff. And there's a Madrigal, Kevin Ginkel. Strickland, live pack here, Eduardo Escobar, Rojas. Packs were hot for J-Pack. You definitely were doing better than me. Here's a Beckwith, outstanding pull there. That'll go on the silver team when we come back to it. We liked him a lot today. T1 Walker. Hansel is Kierdo. Can't wait for Build a Legend. Is that this Thursday or next Thursday? Avisai Garcia. Yeah, Beckwith looks good. I like what I've seen from him so far. Column A, Ali Sanchez. My couple good defensive players here, and then a guy who strikes out a lot. This Thursday is Diamond. Oh, goodness gracious. This is my favorite. This just changed into my favorite poll of the day so far. I have been trying to find this card on the auction house to add to my gold team. He is never, ever available. He's getting put on the gold team. He's my new shortstop on the gold tournament team. I am pretty happy about that card. Scherzer gets us 20 more packs, and Ron Hansen goes on my gold team. He has fantastic defense. He is, based off of my stats, he's grading out as the number 2 defensive gold shortstop and top 4 offensively as well. There's a Rodon who's up to silver now. Hansen's looking good at shortstop in gold. I like him a lot. Jim Poole. We got a Len word name I can't read. Gabrielson. 74 contact, 71 power. Interesting. Lots of historical goals. This is an interesting looking card too. 65 contact, 77 power, 66 defense at first base. Let's check out Jim Poole. Jim Poole. Negative 3.21 WAR per 600 plate appearances over 56 plate appearances. That's a small sample size. Not looking good in a small sample size for a Poole though. Sadly. You think the Gabriel's going to be part of the Marichal Build a Legend? No, I don't usually complain about packs. The only time I really complained about packs was when I sold Tris Speaker and opened 1,000 packs and only got one live perfect. That was the one time I complained about packs, but it was because I packed a Tris Speaker last year. So, we got 8 left, and then we're going to sell some stuff. We're going to turn in some collections. Uh-oh. Duplicate perfect Scherzers. Are you serious? Should I keep one? We'll just sell them both. Why not? Crazy. That's nuts, guys. That is hilarious. And we got a Cabrian Hayes here. He's not going to change. I don't think. He's out for the season, isn't he? Did he get hurt? Or was it somebody else I'm thinking of that got hurt? One of the other big prospects that was coming up that got hurt. Just one for collection later. I don't know that Scherzer is going to be a part of any collections later on. Joe Wilholt. Rosenthal, Guzman, Cishek. 3 packs left in this set. Oh, sure. Is Scherzer, Cabrian out? Tim Anderson, rookie sensation. AJ Seager, Jimmy Cordero. 2 packs left in this set. And 1 pack left. Build a Legend Marichal. That's a duplicate as well. I already had that one. We'll just put him up. So if anybody needs a Build a Legend Marichal, he's up for last 10 as well. Solid packs today, guys. I have 0 complaints. Let's see if I can figure out how to make this work real quick. Let's go. Responses. Let's turn off responses. And I'm going to export this to Excel. Take all of this, Control Shift down. We're going to copy. We're going to go into here. I'm going to open a new spreadsheet. We're going to take this and go like this. I'm going to take these and go data, filter, okay. And we're going to unique records only just to make sure nobody put in more than one. We're going to copy these. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. I lost you guys. You guys are gone again. There you are. You've had terrible luck today. Sorry. Marichal is cheap. Yeah, he already sold. He's good. He looks good though. Live Anderson jumped to 92, but still not crazy. We're gonna plug all of you guys' names into here, and then I'm gonna randomize this 10 times, and the top 3 are going to get 10,000 perfect points for their thing. So the top 3, message me on Discord or in here, and then we'll see what happens. Ready? Randomize. That's 1. Oh God, I'm gonna have to. 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I need to count for you guys? 6. Can we make it to 10? 7, 8, 9, 10. Top 3. Nuh-uh. Are you serious? Curly Karkovice, number 1. I am Unoriginal 2, number 2, and DS27. The 3 of you, please shoot me a message in Discord or here on Twitch with your capitalized properly perfect team username, and I will pass it along to TJ and get you each 10,000 perfect points. Congratulations to the 3 of you. If somebody could type that into chat while I'm doing these missions real quick, that would be great. Or I'll do it. I'll do it in just a minute. Let's go completion percentage. All we completed there was Beltray. That's a little sad. I just submitted that. An error occurred. Come out and submit to server. Uh-oh. I broke the whole game. I just broke the whole game. Two historical golds in one pack. Congratulations. I'm going to type those names in here. So it was Curly Archivice. I am Unoriginal 2 and DS27. Congratulations. Which tourney is on tap for next week? I'm going to do Iron next week. We're going to get some more data on the new Iron cards. And let's see if we can finish this collection now. With the live updates and everything, we're going to see if we can't get some good data on that. There we go. Mission complete. Adrian Beltre, silver unlock. Do I have the mission complete? I do. Adrian Beltre, silver lock, please. No? No gold unlock for Beltre yet. That's sad. So 3 packs. We're going to quick sell a Scherzer, who is not on here. Quick sell 1 Scherzer. So we've got 23 more packs left today. I need to get those duplicate John Donaldsons up for auction as well. At some point. What are we doing? Packs. We'll do 25 more. Let's do that. I sold Scherzer for 20. We'll actually, yeah, let's just do 25 more because it's easy. And I'm going to click on the right thing eventually. And so that'll leave us with 28 more packs, and then I'll be leaving you for today. It has been a lot of fun. We'll take a Reese Hoskins and a Tubby Spencer in the first pack here. Patrick Corbin, who just moved down from gold to silver. So that's interesting because he was pretty high on the list today. He's got good stuff, good control, and good stamina. He performed better over his sample size than I expected. But, I mean, maybe he's not completely unplayable. Yeah. Bonnie Hollingsworth, Dave LaPont, Rex Brothers, Philip Deal. Evan Marshall, Trey Mancini, Dave Haas, another Charlie Culberson, Latansis. We might have used up all our good luck on the first 60 packs. Montero, Helsley, and Jarlin Garcia. There's a Jock Peterson, Van Meter, Bubick, Bill Glenn. You think Urias is a slightly better Corbin? That's fair. I can see that. Pull a Bronze Rose and you'll buy it. No, if I pull a Bronze Rose, he's getting kept. Sorry. There's a Sam Huff, Toro, Scott Kingery, and Mike Campbell is the only historical card in that pack. Tony Watson, Sabatka, Aaron Hicks, down from a silver to a bronze, Caleb Thielbar, Gorzalani, there's a Mel Harder, 66 movement, 64 control, 95 stamina as a starting pitcher, and a Rick Helling here. I want to check Harder out. Check Harder out and see if we go to the pitching stats. Pitching stats. Mel Harder, 400 or so innings pitched, 476 earned run average, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 home run. Ooh, struggles with the home runs, does Mel Harder. I like it. If you're not melling hard enough, Mel Harder. Jeffrey Springs, Matt Strom here in this pack. We got less than 20 packs left today. Gomez, Dave Scalfini, 14. Vic Keane, Unsung Heroes. Gets a little bit of use in Unsung Heroes and in cap tournaments. Jose Vizcaíno, decent. I may have missed on him a little bit. I think there's options that are just as good at shortstop. I've already apologized for that in the past, though. Lorenzen here. Al Gettle, Tom Borland. Roy Smith, Satoru Komiyama, and a bunch of live cards. Shed Long Jr. I think he's going to be back soon. The David Hernandez snapshot. We're down to the final 10 packs. Guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you enjoy it, stop by my stream. We'll be on Thursday. Again, not tomorrow. I have stuff I have to grown up tomorrow. And I will be back on Thursday with Sporers. A little bit of a look at Sporers. And then the Bronze Daily Cap. And then Friday, we're going to look at Unsung Heroes as we get a Buddy Napier here, who is not in any missions yet, but a duplicate gold. We'll hang on to him for next week. Bill Robinson, 72 contact, 78 power, bad defense. Frank Bowling. You want to look at Bill Robinson? Check out Bill Robinson. Not that Robinson. Shane? Wilbert. Jeff. Eddie. Bill Robinson. 2.35 WAR per 600, so not bad. 276 average, 317 on base percentage, 490 slugging, 26 or so home runs, and an 806 OPS over 1,600 plate appearances. Not a bad looking. We got some pretty solid looking silver cards today that don't look too bad. With 6 packs left. You're pulling a lot of 1971 diamonds lately. Bob Montgomery, John Jay. Scott Cooper. Card I wish was better than it is. Much like Scott Cooper in 1994, so a fitting card. Austin Davis, Andujar, just a masher in bronze. 3 more packs. Robles. 2 left. Guys, have a fantastic night. It's been a blast today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got something out of it. And we will see you on Thursday or on next Tuesday. Billy Joe Robideau gets some play in Unsung Heroes. He hits a little bit in Unsung Heroes. And that's it for the stream today. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. For the winners, I see a couple messages in here, so I think you messaged me on Twitch. If you didn't message me on Twitch, hit me up on Discord. You can either find me on the Out of the Park Discord as Angered Unicorn or on the main Discord as Malivian. That's Malivion. And I will send your names along to TJ. Thanks a lot, guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. And come out and see us on Thursday. We'll see you then. Bye, guys.